Hey, and welcome to another episode of All Aware. I am your host, Nathan Roshan, and tonight we're going to meet up with Echo Hotel in the Nightwatch Channel to do an extended episode. We are here for over 3 hours interviewing UFO Contactee, a woman who is very spiritual, very knowledgeable, and has a lot of good information to share and spread of some knowledge that may have been hidden from us over the years, and it has a different viewpoint of what Earth is, how we are positioned on Earth, and are flat Earthers sort of right, and are globe Earthers sort of right? Is there a balance in between? We're going to find out from her tonight that, as well as some of her UFO and alien stories and topics, as well as why some geopolitical things are going on. She has a nice spin on that, or a nice viewpoint, I should say, or perspective on that, and what is to come here in what we on this program have traditionally called the Great Awakening, or the ascension of planet Earth. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss this episode. We're going to be right back here on All Aware. Stay tuned.
From the corners of the internet to the wave signals transmitting through your brain, you are now sinking into All Aware. Preparing transmission signals. Stand by.
Silent scan.
Broadcasting off the grid in Central Texas. This is the All Aware Podcast.
Thank you.
Please stand by for your host, Nathan Roshan.
Tell you, I have been looking forward to this for so long after finding you on SG's account, and
I'm glad that you have.
I did try to look up everything I could about you to kind of get a profile that we could go over, but there's not, you're a mystery. Except for your music, there's not a whole lot of information about you out there.
Well, I did a lot of research and prepping to get to the point where I'm at, and it seemed to start blossoming and coming out into the public eye about 3.5 years ago. And thanks to my good friend, Honey C. Golden, from her YouTube channel, she gave me a voice to get that out there. And I did that for about a year. And in the midst of doing that, it's kind of like God was giving me practice, how to get my footing, how to be able to speak to people to where I can get their attention and break things down to the basics so everybody can understand it. So it's just like a learning process. And then I took a break for a year, and then God gave me all of the knowledge and showed me, and I got to go to these places of the things that has to do with these medbed facilities and the medbeds themselves and the technologies that we're going to be using. I got to use some of this stuff. I was highly impressed, gentlemen.
Wow.
But he prepared me to come back and be able to answer anybody's questions to the best of my ability and give it substance, that things that they could look up or go and discover or research themselves to find that, it's not just words. These things actually do exist, and we are very aware of some of this technology that's been suppressed from us. It's just we don't have no idea the extent of what this technology can do for us. They've heard about replicators, but do they understand what it is? I mean,
Right.
how does it come about to be able to help us? Is it just for food? Is it for materials? Is it on a large scale? Can you make a starship out of one? Yes, you say they look at it only in a narrow box. They're not seeing it in the grandeur of what it can be. So, and that's
So
where
when you
to help.
say if just to kind of go back to kind of help people understand too. So when you say you were shown all this, was this in like an out of body experience or a dream, or was this an actual maybe like a contactee type situation where you were taken off planet that way? How would you describe that so we can get people to understand?
These were all in the physical. Okay.
Okay.
I actually got to go aboard a ship. I have never been beamed up. I've always been picked up, okay. But I have heard people talk about, them getting levitated off or going up into a beam. I'm pretty sure that does happen, but that has not occurred with me. And I have had some, I want to call them like astral experiences. Like God doesn't want me to feel the intensity of what he's going to show me, so he does it in the spirit or in the astral way. But that with this, all of this stuff with the humanitarian projects and all the technologies that's coming with it, basically because that is one of my projects is the housing, for the homeless and inadequate housing of our brothers and sisters.
Yeah, same
And
here.
yeah, so God, he took me to those things into physical so that I can experience what I am going to be using and showing people that really do exist because they're here and they're now. Okay. And gave me a good idea on how each one of these technologies work so that I can break it down to the basics for all who is interested in hearing. And it's like a whole prepping thing because I'm used to building houses. We use material, wood, nails, screws, all that kind of good stuff. But what we are going to go into with the way my projects are, it's going to be done on another level. Like if it takes a normal house to be, a year to be built, these things can be built in less than a week. Imagine the production that can call to get this stuff fixed pretty quick, and there is different stages. It's like the quick fix because you just want to get them off the street or whatever, but then you need to make another round whenever you're supplying them with a home type ordeal.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is stages in that. That way something's being done as you're going around, and when you get back around, that part is ready to be set up for a community or a subdivision or something like that.
So is it like a tunnels to towers type of thing where it's going to be a housing that's provided to them free of charge and
Say that
where
again because I could hardly hear you, Ed.
so would it be like a tunnel to towers type of organizational type of thing where they do it with veterans. They provide free houses to Gold Star veterans and disabled veterans.
Yes. It is. I mean, because we have to think about our priorities first, and that is our veterans, our homeless, okay, and all those who are living in any type of inadequate housing or building or something like this here. Those are the priorities, is to take care of those that served us and done for us, and those who think they were forgotten about because they don't have no medical, they don't have anything for them, okay, except for the open area. And that it is
Right.
pretty sad. So we want to take care of that. But we also have the other priorities of all of the wounded from our wars, the veterans who have had detrimental damage either to their brains or their bodies, body parts that they may have lost in extreme trauma. And then you have all these children that has gone through trauma. Now, the ones that's underground in the bunkers, those already been taken care of. But we are responsible for the ones that's on the surface. Okay.
Hmm.
And
Right.
so therefore we take care of those. And of course, the cancer patients. And a big thing that I didn't even think about that God has impressed me during all of this, even those that are in comas, but who's going to speak for them? Who's going to do these things for them? So God has these contingency plans in every aspect of this. But those are to be the priorities, the ones that gets come out of that. Now, some people who are in a coma, God knows what's in your heart. If you are awoken, then you are meant to be awoken, and if you are not, then it's just you need to just be patient. It doesn't mean that they won't. It just means you need to be patient. That's all it means because nobody knows what God's plan is to the totality of it. So we're just learning as we go. So,
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
an interesting plan so far.
yeah, it is.
The last eight
All the
years.
information that I have acquired is just absolutely fascinating. I did have to adjust to the information that was given to me because whenever I first got into the information, it was a little scary to start, thinking outside the box and being shown these things. But it was God showing me first, like a beginning of something. okay, and how it got to this point. And it was very soothing, very learning. I didn't mind watching. It's like something you would see on the History Channel, kind of, so to speak. But he did it in these stages and showed me how the solar system was created. And then how the planets came to be, and then how all these other characters came into play. It's the most epic story from beginning of the information that I have to up to the present, of the different things that I have seen that God has showed me how it all came to be, to help me give an idea and break it down simply as I can to help everybody understand that. And then once you have these other characters that came into play, because extraterrestrials are real, other life forms are real. If you look up at the sky and you see all those stars and you think that you're the only one, then somebody needs to make your cake because you're vain. And that's as
Hmm.
simple as that. Because there is
Yeah.
so much life out there. And even the stars that we look at, they're not that far. Even our planets are not as far as they portray them to be. I will get to that in a little bit. But um,
Well, just to kind of go off of what you're saying there, if I could,
yeah.
they just came out with I saw this yesterday. I can't remember where I saw it, but I think it's Centauri B, or they just found lights on a planet. And they showed it from the I don't know, telescope or whatever they had found the
Mhm.
satellite up there that had the telescope on it. But they had lights that you could see on the planet, and it looked like kind of like what's on my background here.
Mhm. Yeah,
So it's proof right there. I mean, do you need anything else that there's living beings on the surface of that planet?
exactly. And it's not that they just discovered it, they just decided to let us see it.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of things has been like that all over the place. It's like, because that's part of the disclosure. We're going to start seeing these things. They're going to use what has been used on us and try to change the script a little bit. And things are going to start coming out that we can actually see, and see that there's things are starting to be different. Like I think it was like 2 years ago, they were on the news talking about how the dome had a crack in it.
Yeah.
you know, and it's like you would never expect to be hearing something like that, but here it is, about 2 years later, and people have kind of forgotten about that. But for us in the community, we can remember that. And so those are an anomaly. Why would they use those words? Why would they talk about it like that? And they was talking about how these energies are coming through those cracks. So, and for us to be prepared for like mega auroras, and it could possibly cause, anomalies like storms and stuff like that there. But at that time, if you think about the dome having ice over it, okay, it's a frequency, just like a clear dome, and then they covered it in ice because we used to be able to see outside the bowl. Okay. And then when the grays came in, no, no, they didn't cover it, made it worse. So, but the ice on top of it, because it expands like this here, it will have cracks in it. Okay. And in those cracks, it can get energy in. Okay. And but now that that is gone, they can allow that energy to come in. And that's where even some of it, because it fluctuates like it does, you can get that blue sky ice. Okay. It's frozen oxygen.
Hmm.
And it's a beautiful blue color. And that's pieces of it that can come off of the ice, because it's not just on the outside, it's actually on the interior of it as well, because it's so close in proximity. And some of these pieces will fall that have like rocks in them that's been collected from the outside. Okay. And they'll come down as meteors. Okay. And they need to make an excuse for it. There's a meteor. Look at that. But they use all of these things to make us perceive it um, from their perspective and their narrative and how they want to run it. Just like you heard me talking about the auroras. I mean, that literally is two frequencies having conflict, and we can see that. Now, they can't change that. They can't hide the auroras, because it's an electromagnetic thing that goes outside the force and inside the force. It just
Hmm.
reflects itself. They can't hide that. So they use it to their advantage and say, look at the auroras. Aren't they so pretty?
Well, they've come down really low in the last year. I mean, they were seeing
Mhm.
them almost down to Southern
Because she's raising
California.
her frequency, you
Yeah.
know, and it's going to make that, whatever her frequency is stronger than this one here. Of course, it's going to have a bigger reflection or reaction whenever they bump into each other like that. So, but I
Mhm.
do think it's very beautiful. But that is, that to me is like, it was right in our face. right there in our face, and we're all going, ooh, ah, ah. And it is pretty, but now I know what it is. And the other thing that I wanted to let my brothers and sisters know, so let me grab this to make it a little bit easier to explain. Let me see. Okay, now I told y'all that we set off on the side in a dome that's 100,000 miles around, right? And that her North Pole's up here, and this frequency is bouncing off of this frequency here, and that's how we see the auroras, right? But I want you to look at this. This is her North Pole, and this is like Mount Meru's North Pole on this side over here. Okay, that's going to give you your 23.5-degree angle that they're claiming that we have.
Mhm.
Okay, now whenever I was growing up, it was 27. Now all of a sudden it's 23.5. But that gives you that tilt that they're talking about. She does not sit on a tilt like that. Her equator is no more than 1 degree off at any given time. She does have a wobble, okay, but that's just like a top. You spin a top, you can see that very top, even though it's spinning very fast, it has a very narrow wobble to it. Okay, that helps keep her balance, and it also helps keep the water and everything else on the planet. And everybody doesn't understand that, well, how can she be spinning and keeping water on her? Okay, well, we were all taught about gravity. Okay, they're saying there's something, you drop it, gravity's going to take it down. Okay, well, in actuality, we're all magnets. We are refrigerator magnets stuck to Mother Gaia. Okay, that's how, and it's electromagnetism that causes that. Okay, they want to call it gravity, but it's actually magnetism. That's how we are able to keep the water and ourselves on this planet. And she does spin about 1,000 miles an hour. Okay, and that's like actually normal for such a large planet because she is a super Earth. But you can actually look at her and be able to go in and zoom in, and there is stuff upside down. Boats, people, whatever, it's upside down because that's how you would really be able to see it. If they're telling us the truth, how come they've never shown that to us? You know? Because I mean, somebody's Sally standing on top up here and Bob's down here and he's upside down. They never would show us that because they couldn't show us that. But in actuality, that is how it works. Okay.
So you're saying that because we've interviewed Flat Earth Dave, and there's a huge division, with people that are trying to be critically sound in their thinking that say that the Earth is flat, and there's other of us who believe it's round or whatever, that whole thing that's going on. So from what you just showed, the Earth, from your physical observations and from your research and for what you've seen, the Earth is round, but we are sequestered or quarantined into a small portion of it
Absolutely.
that
Just
would give
like
it
that.
the illusion that it is flat,
Yes,
correct?
exactly.
So
Because
it's actually both.
100,000 miles around, that's too expansive. I mean, or should I say, it's so expansive that it can give you the illusion of flat or have a curvature on. It's according to where you're at in that circle. But I mean, you got to think of that. We're in the center of that. We're only 25,000 miles around in that little corral they put us in.
Yes.
You know? I mean, so, and you got to understand that this is called the big lie. They don't want us to know that, but they are using that, like I said, the angle of it to justify this here tilt that Mother Gaia has, you know. And but she is a magnet. All of this is about magnets and electromagnetism. So that's what holds the water in place. And now she does have a slight bulge in her center, but that's nothing compared to what they're talking about on this here. Okay, she is almost perfectly balanced. Okay, and especially since inside the photon belt, the stars and all the planets, they get energized and they get supercharged. So any top that's going to spin, it's not going to wobble anymore, is it? It's going to stay right there
Right.
because it's
Now,
super energized, and
now
that
that
goes for all
makes
of it.
that makes a lot of sense because we actually proposed that to Flat Earth Dave and to
Mhm.
SG and on, that what if it's just that the planet is much bigger than we've been told? And we did at that time we didn't know anything about a dome or anything like what you're talking about. I just always figured, okay, it's probably just a lot. We've been lied to about everything.
Mhm.
It's probably just a lot bigger.
But
And
it
so when
makes
we heard,
logical sense when you put those two concepts together because they divide
yeah,
everything. So why wouldn't they divide that too? That way now you got two, warring parties over their perspective on it.
Over half
I'm very
truths.
grateful for the flat earthers. And, I mean, you should shake one of their hands because they help give us one of the biggest pieces to this puzzle.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they are correct. It is flat. Okay. And just like the wall map that you have, it is flat. It's not okay. Africa and South America, they didn't go together. I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay. If you look at the map that's on the United Nations wall, that
Hmm.
is a pretty good representation, but it's all flat. Okay. And because of the flat earthers, like I said, they gave us, and they worked diligently at it to try to prove their point. They just didn't realize there was something outside the dome. Okay, but they help give us a big piece of this puzzle that's going to make it more logical for all to understand that if you think about it and look at it from that aspect and that logical perspective, put those two concepts together and it works. It makes sense, you know.
Yeah, because
Uh,
my
um,
my
yeah.
biggest question always was what they presented. If you're standing on one side of like one of the Great Lakes,
Hmm.
there you can look across to 60 miles, and there
Hmm.
should be 1,800 feet of curvature. You shouldn't be able to see any of the buildings in Chicago,
Hmm.
and yet you can see the entire buildings. And
Right.
so the Google calculator that they're using was obviously wrong or lying to us. And that's kind of where I came up with the thought in my head that maybe it's just that much bigger.
Hmm.
And so we are so when we found you, it was like, oh my gosh, she's answering so many of our questions.
Well, I mean, I'm really thankful that God showed it to me that even to me, it makes sense. It makes logical sense to me, and I appreciate that other people had those questions as well and are learning, if anything, some different aspects outside the box, because it is more. They have lied us on such a grand scale. Why would this shock you?
Hmm.
And another thing, I have done a couple of other shows, and my brothers and sisters, you believe that these gray aliens exist, the reptilians exist. They've done horrible things to our children all over through I'm going to just say the Chrome stuff. And
Hmm.
and then we believe that CERN is opening up portals to demons and all this kind of good stuff. And then I come out on the scene. You believe in all of these negative things, but I come on the scene and tell you the good guys are here, and you're going, "Whoa, that's too much." See, but if you're willing to believe in all of that negativity and what has been done to us, there is always an opposite to that, and the
Hmm.
positive is here. The negative did take over. We got, pretty much taken over this whole game. They corrupted and almost defeated us because it did not go along with the plan. And that's why we're here is to correct that wrong, to fix the program, if you want to call it that, you know.
Mm, I like it.
I'll share something with you.
Okay.
Nathan and I think we talked about this on the phone when we talked a couple of weeks ago, Lisa. Nathan and I went to a David Straight uh, event, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that he talked about was the fact that we now have help. So
Mm-hmm.
there's the way, and he didn't come right out and say it and explain it like you are, but he pretty much put it
Mm-hmm.
out there that there's good ones and there's bad ones,
Absolutely.
and that we have help right now at this time in the Earth's evolution, um, and that's why we're on the track that we're on, and we're winning. And it was like
That's right.
and that was probably 4 or 5 years ago, I think, Nathan, when we
Mhm.
heard that, and it's like, okay,
At
like,
least 3 years, yeah. At least three or
Yeah.
more.
Well, I know that this plan has been in the making for, I'm going to say the intensity of it for about 200 years. And I'm going to say that in our time because there was a lot of stuff that was going on outside of this that we wasn't aware that was being set up to help get us to this point where, let me see if I can sum this up. Our star, his name is Sol or Sol, Sol. Okay. All stars are males, all planets are females. I'm just going to leave you with that. Well, Sol is hauling ass through the galaxy, and he's trying to get to the photon belt. That's his finish line. Okay. Now, all of this corruption with all of these different entities and beings and extraterrestrials and stuff, we all are very aware of the slave trading, the bartering, and everything else, Star Wars and Star Trek and all that kind of good stuff that's going on out there. Okay. But it's a war because they know that we have, let's just say, they know we have 200 years before we hit that photon belt. So what do you think they're going to do? They're going to do as much damage as they can because they don't want. If the star makes it, they want to make sure that the planet doesn't. Okay.
And by star, you're talking about our sun, correct?
Correct, our true sun. Well, it's not
Yes.
our true sun, but it is the sun that we are belong to right now, and it's Saul. His
So
name is Saul.
why would they not want the planet to make it? Do they want to cause as much destruction as possible so they can rebuild later?
No, it's more of the factor because they know that there's a positive Earth and there's a negative Earth. Okay. And whenever it hits the photon belt, that finish line, it splits. One goes up, one goes down. That positive goes in and the negative goes to it's where it needs to be. That horrible 3D Earth or 4D Earth. Okay, anything after 4D is only positive. 5D and up is only positive. There's absolutely no negative, nothing like that there above 5D.
Well, that's where I'm
But
going. I'm going 5D.
there you go. But it'll split the planet. She actually divides like an egg. The positive will go one way and the negative will go the other way. And they can have, their zombie apocalypses. They can have their Hillary Clintons, all they want to. But whenever we are, as they know this is going to happen, so they want to take as many of us with them to the negative. Okay. It's like a soul harvest. Okay. And that way they can go about making these worlds will exist. And if you choose to go that route, or you get stolen by them and you don't get saved, so to speak, most will be saved. Don't worry, my brother says it'll be like 99%, no worries. But they want to take as many of us as they can with us. Like if I'm going to go down, I'm going to take your ass with me. Simple
So
as
is this period you're talking about, is this kind of what David Wilcock calls the solar flash or the great flash? Is that kind of where these planets emerge and then there'll be one that ascends and another version that descends? Is that
Yeah, because it splits itself from the positive to the negative. Okay. And just at that threshold is usually some people even call it the wall of fire, but it's not fire. It's just extreme energy. It is so bright. If you could see it with you wouldn't be able to see it. It's so bright. It would
gotcha?
blind you. But it's extreme energy. And it's like I said, it's 2,000 light years across. But if you look at it, to me, it's like a galactic star wash. Okay. Whenever a star hits it, it cleans all the negativity out and it's like it completed its task. Now, if it's on this side of the photon belt and it's starting that journey, it has to go all the way around to get to the finish line. Okay. But once it hits the photon belt, it cleanses every bit of that and it separates it. That's where God
Mm.
separates it. That's where you make your choice. Either you're good or you're bad. You had your free will. I gave you that. That's what you wanted. Now I'm letting you make your own decision. I'm going to give you all kinds of ideas and good things to look at and stuff to help you make those choices. But when it comes down to it, it's going to be your choice because that was part of the deal.
I'm
Okay.
going up. That's where I'm
Yeah,
going.
we're
I'll be
going
up
up, baby.
there.
That's
So,
right.
I'll be
We're
up
going
there with
up.
you
I love it.
guys. You know it.
so does well, we all know that Hollywood does things to show us certain things that are
Hmm.
coming, and there's been
Absolutely.
movies that have come out. One of them in particular that I remember is it was a Nicolas Cage movie called The Knowing,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and it what you're talking about almost sounds like that.
Well, that's the fear-based factor. I mean, fear-based version.
Hmm.
Okay. And that's what they want to put into you that it's this horrible thing because as long as they control you with fear, then they got you. Okay. That's their version. That's their tell a vision that
Right.
they want you to manifest for them, to be a part of it. Okay. And instead of showing it in more of a positive aspect, because it's not to the negative, it will be kind of like a wall of fire, okay? Because they're thinking negatively, it's going to be something worse to them.
Hmm.
So that energy denses down to what you want it to be. If it's fire, so be it. But the positive side is pure light, and it is a wall. It's not like you're going to explode. you're going to deteriorate, or anything like this here, but it's like it supercharges anything that comes in its path and cleanses it, the stars and the planets, right down to the people, right down to the bugs. It doesn't matter. But because it's such a supercharge, and you're released from the binds in your DNA, we'll put it like that. It expands your DNA to the maximum. You are no longer in disguise. You know who you are. You don't have to worry about none. Okay, I made it through this area. That was a great show, guys. Thanks. That kind of ordeal, because you know who and what you are. And that's kind of like the end of the movie. You get to celebrate. It is a celebration. Well, a lot of our brothers and sisters wasn't going to have that chance. And that's why we had to come in here and save this. Okay. We had to try to come in here and wake up our brothers and sisters so we can take back what belongs to God. Okay. It's like this is the whole plan. This mission is it's a rescue mission overall.
Yeah.
Okay. I was telling you about the war that was out there. You have all of these here ships that are in battle trying to keep our star from making to the finish line. I was very, very impressed that God called in so many different beings, up to the highest of 4D, because still in 4D you can have weapons. Okay. All right. So he called in these big dogs. There's like some of them are like Jetson worlds. That's where we should be right now. They had that kind of technology. But God called in these ones that had force, because they were bringing in the negative 4D ones to battle us, to conquer us, to cause us more problems. Okay. So now you got these two forces that are fighting each other, just like you would see in Star Wars. Okay. But then God called in these higher density beings that are in sixth and seventh and eighth dimension. I'm going to jump to the eighth dimensional ones for a great example. Our star, it has a bubble about 1 light year out. Okay, that's the bubble of it. All right. And so I get tickled over it. I don't think about this. God, think about how many ships it would take to have to circle it like a net
A
and keep
lot.
pace
Wow.
with the
Yeah.
star and keep pace with that star.
A lot.
Okay, so God called in
Tons.
these higher density ones because they don't have weapons like we do, but they have energy and they can be a force field. Okay, and all of these here different ships came in and surrounded our entire star 1 light year out, and covered it like a net, and was keeping pace with our star because he's hauling ass to that finish line. But we have all these other ships that are around that are trying to get in, and once they put that net, like I'm going to call it that net around Saul, whoever was inside of it, you ain't getting out, and nobody's getting in. Okay, so now there was a war within that bubble. Okay, from Saturn and all the rest of them, there was a war. They were not allowing to see it. Now, some of us got to see the fireworks, the colors and stuff in the skies, and we were curious about what is that, because we were witnessing some of the effects. But that battle has also been conquered. Okay, we're going to call them the air army. Okay, we took care of all of those. Now we got these little minions on the ground we got to deal with. Okay, and because these minions are like us, it is a lot of our responsibility. And thank goodness that we do have soldiers, military, ex-military, all of these here. But they also brought in 4D characters from other worlds to be soldiers with us. Okay, and those guys were mainly called in because whenever we went to go get into these bunkers, our guys had no idea what they were walking into. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no.
And
Yeah.
and these other higher 4D guys, they've already been through these types of wars and battles and decimation like that. So they were asked to come in and help our guys because our guys wouldn't have been able to do it by themselves. And they're bigger. Some of them are bigger. We're talking like 10 footers, 12 footers, because they had their 10, 12, and 15 footers over in Iraq. I'm sure y'all have heard of that about that.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So
Yep.
that wasn't a joke. So we needed some big guys too. So they did come in and help us to clear out the bunkers and stuff like this here. So now it's down to the minions that in our government, leaderships, and stuff like this here. They still are there, but they're not as many as they were because a lot of them have already been arrested. A lot of them are in Gitmo. A lot of them have already been executed. But they're the major bad guys. We're talking that the reptilians. Okay, we're not talking about reptilian and human. We're talking reptilian. Okay. Now some of these guys, because they still have a soul, but it's such a tiny speck it has no effect on them. Okay. And but because of their severe crimes against humanity on a global scale, not just Earth, we got other planets involved in this too. They get shot into the sun and they are judged. They go back to God. There is no council. There ain't no judge sitting up there with no hammer. They get shot back into the star and they get totally recycled from scratch. We're talking nothing, cloud, dirt,
Yeah, I've heard of
from
this.
nothing.
Wow.
Because God
Yeah,
loves all of his creations and he gives all of his creations another chance. Okay, even if it's that extreme. But that is, you consider that like the ultimate punishment. You're getting recycled from the beginning. God is going to absorb every bit of that and give you another chance. Okay. But the ones that are what we would call the laws of the land here with us, yes, we can see fit as our laws permit. But then there are those ones that are worse as well that has to be taken off on ships, okay, that to be judged galactic. I mean, it's solarly, and then it's kind of like our quadrant. Y'all have heard that in Star Trek. I'm sure you've heard it in
right.
Hmm.
Oh
where
yeah.
there's a galactic court, a galactic council that handles those big dogs as well. So,
So would
So
you say we're in, I'm sorry, Echo,
no, no, go ahead. You're good. Go ahead.
would you say we are in, because a lot of people in the awakening realm of this movement would say that we're in 4D now, or that we may be going to 5D.
mhm.
Are we, in your observations, in the three-dimensional space still, or are we 4D, or how would you
Well,
describe what there's?
3D is you're not aware you're in time.
Okay.
Well, we are 4D. We are aware that we are in time.
Okay.
Okay. But we should have already been in each dimension. There's 7 layers, just like your chakras. Just like a game, you got to get to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. And we were already supposed to be in the advanced technology Jetson world. Okay.
Yes.
That was kept from us. Okay. So we're going to say bottom of 4D because we are aware that we are in time and we're going to do a quantum leap into 5D because we don't have enough time before the dome comes down, so to speak, to get everything up to par like it was supposed to be. Okay, the natural evolvement of this here game world, whatever you want to call it. But that's the reason why we're going to jump. And all this technology is coming in is going to help us get there faster. And that's why these med beds are very, very crucial, is because we need to get these bodies ready for what is coming. It's not a horrible thing. We are trapped inside of a dome. We're in a prison. We're going to be liberated. Okay, to put it like that, we're going to have a massive party, and it will be. And that once we get our bodies out with all these toxins and metals and everything else out of us, we'll be able. That dome comes down. It's like she's going up on an escalator, and she's raising her frequency. And just like an opera singer, when it hits that certain key, that glass shatters. Well, so will the dome. Okay, and whenever it comes down, it won't be no wall of fire. It will be a blast of light, and that light will go slap through us. Okay. And in that second, we'll already be awake from the quantum beds. Okay, that'll wake up a lot of our DNA. But once this light hits us, it's all open. Every bit of it. You know that you are part of God. You are a reflection of God, that you are a piece of that divinity. There is no difference. You're just playing a different character, you know.
Fair
So,
enough.
so when they say that nothing can stop what's coming,
That's exactly what they mean.
that's exactly what they're
Well,
talking
it's not
about.
just that, but all of this technology coming, all of this change is coming. All of this here getting taking back control of our lands, our governments, our communities,
Hmm.
every bit of it, taking back control of it. That is something that you cannot stop what's happening because technology is bringing it to us. I mean, look at where we are now because of the internet and stuff like this. Here, we can talk to each other all over the world with all kinds of vast information. And the more people know, the more they're keen to understanding and accepting new ideas. Okay, now you bring out the EE bed system, the med bed system. That is it's a great concept. It gets the idea in people's minds, gets them used to it. Okay, well, this is possible. Well, then maybe we can get a better one. And it encourages that mindset. People are welcoming it, but it is mechanical. It was built by somebody's hands. It's mechanical. Therefore, it will cost money. Now, these quantum med beds are absolutely free. If anybody tries to sell you a ticket, that's a lie. These things are absolutely free. And if you're trying to sell a ticket, you won't never see one in your lifetime. Okay? Simple as that. These things are for the right reasons. They're one-time use. You don't have to go back to it. Well, later down the line, I have seen other races use them for modifications, like tattoos. No, they're not called tattoos, but they're called their little symbols. But you can modify it later on. But for the purpose, the main time, it's a one-time use, and that's to get your body back to that original blueprint. A lot of people can go back to 25. You can't go less than that.
My
And like
God,
you
being
also
25
say,
again.
yeah. Well, most men that I have
Well,
seen,
we
they
know
they
what we
they
know
feel around
now.
30. They feel
Oh
like
man.
30 is their prime, where women feel like 25 was their prime. So that is a larger amount of them, but there is those in there that choose to stay 40, 50, or even 70. That's their personal choice. Okay.
Right.
So,
I'll share something with you, Alisa. Um, you kind of touched on something a few minutes ago, and Nathan and I woke up, what, 8 years ago, Nathan? I know it was about 8 years ago for me. And
I woke up in 2012,
okay,
congratulations, my
he
brother.
was
December 12th.
he was a lot earlier than I was. I woke up in 2017, and it was about a month of depression because I knew I had been lied to.
Mm,
And then it was a month of just what do I do? And then after that, it was like, I'm going to get something done. So we found the state national movement and started researching the history of the United States and the history of the corporation in 1871 and 1913 and all that stuff. So we are quite a bit ahead of other people when it comes to that. We've kind of removed ourselves from the whole 14th Amendment U.S. citizen type of thing.
mm,
And I remember one day I was driving to Arizona. It's probably been about 3 or 4 years ago, and I used to listen to Cliff High a lot. I'm not sure if you know who Cliff
yeah,
High is.
I do.
And he didn't put out a video for about a month, and I was like, I asked I asked God or the universe for a sign. I was like, I, I I'd like to just give me something. And about 10 minutes later, Cliff High put out a video, and I'm in the middle of the Arizona desert. I'm driving down the road, and he talked about how we are all here for a reason and we volunteered for this. So
Hmm.
suck it up because what's coming, you volunteered for it. And it
True.
literally touched my soul. And I was like, that's how I felt my entire life. Like I volunteered to be here for
Hmm.
something. And
Yeah,
just
Absolutely.
exactly.
And you are
just kind of
correct. If you feel that, then you are correct because I mean, I had that feeling too. And then I remembered people wonder if when I say that I remembered being called when I was 27, I didn't get called when I was 27. I remembered being called when I
Right.
was
mhm.
27.
Right.
Okay. And it was that we all got this calling from God. I mean, from, like I said, these higher dimensions. Now you got to think about it from their perspective. They're all positive. They're love. So you have all of these different beings that are being raptured by God, and they are okay. They're okay with it because they understand it that God took them. They need them for something. They are that much advanced than we are. So we all got raptured, like I was saying, that when I remember it. Well, you see me talk about it on SGN show. But whenever I got to this place, it was not a place. And there was no ceilings, no walls or anything. But I mean, it's oceans of different beings. And we were all raptured and called there, just like that. And we're curious on what's going on, but we knew we were called. We just didn't know what we were being called for. And then whenever God came onto the scene, it's like nobody was speaking out of their mouth. We were all talking out of our heads. It's telepathy that is what was happening. But God spoke to every one of us at the same time, like he was speaking to us singularly. Okay.
Wow.
And
Yep.
and therefore, if you feel that, then yes, you are part of that. Because I said this was an ocean in every direction. In every direction. So what's the chances of you being part of that? Absolutely phenomenal. You know, and that's why we're here is because that's how many teams, should I say, or waves that God needed to set this stage for this. You know, you first you had the ones in with the scouts. Okay, they came in, and that would be like my parents and my grandparents. They come in and got the lay of the land. Okay, we're going to need them here. We're going to need them here. And they don't have to say that out loud. God's collecting that information through their visual. Okay, they are the observers for God, so God knows where to put things and stuff like this. Here, walking cameras, put it like that. Okay, so now that is being done. So now he needs his soldiers on the ground. Okay, boots on the ground. So now these people are giving birth to that second wave. Okay, and that some of them would be your parent, some of them would be us. Okay, this is how a good expand about 20 years into difference. But these are the ones that are boots on the ground. These are the ones that's going to be the last line to remember what it was like to have a family, to sit down
Mm,
at dinner, to pray over your food,
That's
to,
us.
to do things in a community to help one another.
Yeah.
We can remember these things, okay? Because that next generation, all that's gone. Okay.
mm.
All right. And so God needs this here force line to make that bridge. We've all heard about this bridge. Well, we are that bridge. We're not just here to rescue, but we're to rescue what got lost on the other side of that bridge because they have no idea. You can't get mad at them. They were corrupted and taken over, and we're here to bring them back. Okay, including ones that are our age and everything else that's so far deep in their comas. Okay. But we are the ones that are speaking the truth. And now the younger ones are starting to pay attention because we are being persistent about that. We're not giving up on that. But yeah, even there's even some of our the guys in that that massive place with all those beings. They are in the younger bodies and they're in the older bodies. There is no exception to the rule. God placed them in certain places everywhere. Okay, so that we can have an influence. It's like God's putting down lighthouses, and He just needs it to shine so that the ones around it can receive that energy and start waking up themselves. So that's pretty much what we're doing.
So let me ask you this
Oh,
question because over the last 2 days, um, someone popped back into my Facebook feed,
Okay.
and this person uh, they are so far removed. I mean, they believe the entire show. They're putting out there, they're promoting Biden Harris, and they think Trump's the devil, and that everybody else is wrong, the devil. And so I hit them with logic. I hit them with executive orders. I hit them with things that they could research, and they still didn't see it. And it's like, are those people just lost, or is there a way to get them to get to them? I guess is my question.
Well, it's to put it bluntly, every good movie has to have a good guy and a bad guy.
Mhm.
But eventually, hopefully, in that movie, they will start realizing and seeing that their choice was wrong. But right now, they don't think they're doing anything wrong. They're playing a role. And if they weren't playing their role, you would be feeling the way you are about their role.
The
See?
fact that they showed back up in my feed after like 2 years
Yeah.
told me
Oh.
that I was supposed to be a part of helping them. So I didn't want to
Mhm.
inundate them with just blast them with information.
No, you
I
say,
was
absolutely, I'll help. I'll let everybody know all the information I have on
I was very gentle.
them. So,
I was very
uh,
gentle, but
yeah, it is a sensitive thing, but you have to understand that at one time we were that blind. At
yes,
one
oh yeah.
time we did not know,
yes.
and because somebody outside of us was persistent on trying to give us this information, one day we realized it. Like my daddy told me, he said, "You can tell people the truth all day long, but that ain't shit till it's realized."
Hmm.
Right. Right.
So. And that's what we're in right now. People are starting to realize because there's more of the truth voice that is speaking it. And of course, the visuals, they're showing us how bad this government is. That in itself is waking people up. What this government, their intentions was actually for us and what they're doing to us, what they have been doing to us. You've never seen this here kind of stuff going on in the past. They didn't expose themselves this much. So it
Exactly.
is exactly a plan to wake up America. Whenever I said that we were 80% awake, I didn't mean that we're 80% awake going into quantum bets. I meant that we are 80% politically awake.
Right.
Okay.
We
We
are,
can see
yes.
through the lies and everything else because we have the independents and even some Democrats. They're coming on to, I'm not going to say they're coming on to the Republican thing, but they're coming on to the truth. They're starting
Right.
to realize it and starting to see and say, okay, we got to change this, and that's what it took to get the vast majority of us awake. Anybody that reaches out to you that wants for you to encourage them or whatever, you don't even have to answer them. You don't even feel obligated or whatever. But if you want to have a little bit of fun with it, you say, absolutely. I will tell everybody what I know about them. Just don't let it bother you because they're playing a role and try to visualize that they are going to come, not necessarily to you, but they're going to come back and they're going to have the right questions and they're going to be curious. Something's going to trigger them, just like the rest of them. They've started waking up, even the Democrats and some of the independents. You know, it's just going to take a little bit of time. But now here comes the November 5th. And everybody is really, really curious on how that's going to turn out. There's a lot of us that are on the edge of our seats. What's going to happen? This is going to be one of those cliffhangers. We want to know,
Yep.
and we need to stay positive about it. Don't think negative about it because we already know that there's so much good energy and the outcome is going to be fantastic. So, but how it's going to get to that point, we don't know. So God says, don't focus on the outcome, focus on the now and stay positive on it. You know?
Mm,
That's
yeah.
definitely what I'm trying to do. I know it turns out for the best in the end.
Yes.
And so just like in 2020, when I think myself and everybody else was depressed for a month watching what we went through with the fake inauguration and thinking
Mm-hmm.
the military was going to swoop in, and none of that happened. So now I've prepared myself mentally, and I'm like, okay, um, if that happens again this time, then it's going to happen for a reason, and in the
Mm-hmm.
end, it's going to work out just fine. I'm not going to get emotionally charged or tied to it
Right.
this time.
Well, wasn't it Q that said that they won't even be able to walk down the street?
Oh yeah.
We're almost there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's
We
already happening in a lot of
Yeah,
yeah,
places, is it
we
not?
are.
It's because people
Yes.
aren't taking that crap no more.
yeah.
So, I mean, I do appreciate that a lot of that information came out because I was no different. I was very curious about, his posts and stuff like this, or their posts, should I say. But, and future proves the past,
Hmm.
and it's just keep looking at it and you can see how these things are start coming into play. So somebody knows something somewhere, you know? And even if it's just to plant seeds into our mind, it was very helpful. It was very helpful. Now there was all kinds of spurs that came off of that with the about conspiracy theories and the negativity and everything else. But those who have eyes to see, stayed focused and did their research and found out a lot of the stuff that was being given to us was tips, breadcrumbs, information that's going to lead us down these rabbit holes that they're talking about. And some of those rabbit holes are so severe that I'm not even sure. I know God got me through what I was shown, but it's not something that I want to repeat, because you were saying whenever you found out certain things, you got ill for like a month, because it was depression. It was like that. Ah, no way.
Yeah,
But
it was an acceptance thing. It's like because
mhm,
I was in the Marine Corps and it's like, wait a minute, I've been lied to my entire
yeah,
life about this. It was an acceptance thing. Once I accepted it and I'm like, okay, now I can move on and I can find out how to
exactly.
fix it. I'm a fixer. I want to fix things.
Me too.
So once I'm able to fix it, then and which is why I started going down the state national path and looking into our history and realizing that our founding fathers weren't U.S. citizens. The,
No.
the 14th Amendment literally created that. So
Mhm.
and then once I found out there's a way to escape that whole trap, that's what really, really made me happy. And that's when I met Nathan and we kept we started going down this journey together. So
Got out of the matrix
I
together.
got out of the matrix
Hey,
together. And he talked me into
well,
doing this too. He was doing the podcast thing a long time before I was, and he's like, you gotta get on with me. So
you said that you woke up in 2012, right, Nathan?
Yes, yes, ma'am. I remember
That's when we
exactly.
hit the photon belt, my brother.
Was it?
That's when we hit the photon belt, when
That's
we went
right.
across the finish line was 2012. And that's what the Mayan calendar and the Sumerian scripts were talking about, this golden age. They were talking about going across that threshold, you know.
Yep.
And the Mayans knew it was going to be in 2012. So,
Yeah, I had I mean there was different phases that happened, but I remember specifically, I'll just tell a story real quick here. I was a truck driver at the time, driving cross country, and I was in my my seat driving real late at night. I don't know, I-40 or something across the country, and
Was
I
that
was listening.
Art Bell on?
Yeah, I was listening to something like that, right? Coast to Coast AM with Art
mhm.
Bell or with somebody, and I just a thought came across where I said, everybody in this world is trying to influence me into their way of thinking, and it did something within me, and all of a sudden I really felt euphoric
Wow.
for a considerable amount of time, and it just felt like I was getting information, kind of like things were opening up in my mind, and I was connecting dots that I've never connected before driving down this highway. And,
Wow.
I went to bed that night, and then, several things happened after that, that got me onto certain paths to researching things, and eventually got me into looking into Q when it came out in 2016,
Mhm.
and that information and stuff like that. But I know we all have a different kind of story about that, but yeah, I don't. I mean, that's just kind of to share a little bit. That's kind of how I began my journey.
But it was something within you that kind of flipped the script.
It was.
Like a light switch came on to you.
It
That
literally was.
see, that's what a lot of people are experiencing. It's like they've absorbed it, but it didn't sink in. And then it has that moment that is almost profound.
Yep. Yep.
That's even happened to me because whenever it was at first, it is quite a like what's going on, and I'm trying to grasp it, and all of these dots are connecting. I'm like, no way, no.
Yep.
But it's the realization of it, and then the extensiveness of it. That was pretty much a surprise on how it all is connected, like a web. It is a massive spider web. And but the depths of it, a lot of people don't know and they will never know. And I'm very, very thankful for that. Um, God let me see things like on the surface, of the players on the field, what's going on and stuff like this here. And then he wanted to show me things that were under the surface
Mm.
and what was going on in these here bunkers and these I'm going to just say rituals and just the scientific projects and all this kind of good stuff. Um,
Yep.
God got me out of my body and took me in the astral form, if you want to call it that, astral body, because God didn't want me to feel the intensity of what I was fixing to see.
Mm.
Okay. And I got to see some of the most horrific things, and I'm very thankful that the flesh could not feel that because I mean I could feel it in that spirit form of sorrow, you know. And I'm going through it. It took me down like really. I was going down past these two generals that were going in this elevator down, and I was like outside of it watching them going down this elevator. I'm like, where are they going? You know, and I'm looking at like the surface and then God's showing me how deep they're going. And this thing is like 2 miles deep,
Mm.
you know? And so then they get off of it, and this is large compartment. You can definitely tell it's been industrialized. Okay. It's a base. That's pretty much what they call it. It's a base. And then I'm just going through that and I'm seeing it all. They even have, I mean, they have military equipment down there. How they get it down there? And then it's
So
like,
you're
okay,
remote
this is
viewing this stuff.
yeah.
You're,
Well,
I
I'm in the
That's
spirit
the word
form
I was
seeing it.
just
Yeah.
looking
So,
for,
but
the
it
remote
shocked
viewing.
me that they actually have these spacecraft and these other equipment that's underground that is really deep. So my logic is they had to build it down there. They didn't
mm.
bring it, they built it there.
And left it.
Okay. That makes better sense to me. And
Yeah.
there were crafts there. There were small crafts. I know I keep wanting to go back to the Hitler's Glock, that little bell-shaped one, but
Hmm.
it's more of a squashed version, something like that there. And I can tell that they are man-made. These are not extraterrestrial things. These are man-made. Okay. And then I'm witnessing that. There's a lot of people that are talking. And then I go deeper than that. And then it shows me like a branch out of like a diagram of these other bunkers that are like underneath that one. And each one serves a different purpose. One is scientific, okay, is for these here, anything from genetics. We're going to say genetics in simpler form, bioform. And then they have another section that is scientific for experiments. You know, what they're going to do. They're going to inject this poor dude with this kind of a DNA and see what's going to happen to him. Okay. And they also had, I would say, their clone sections. And it looks like these bodies are hanging off of light bulbs. That's a little bag. It's like they're hanging. Okay. And inside that bag, you can see there's a body in it. Okay.
Hmm.
I couldn't make out if it was male or female because it has some kind of a whitish color to the fluid that they're in.
Hmm.
Okay.
Did
But
God tell you where this place was?
quite a few of them, yes. So whether or not I'm supposed to tell you that, I don't know.
I
But
Yeah, you don't
the
have to.
worst ones
I
I've
have my own
seen,
imagination. Yeah.
brother,
Yeah,
the
you don't
worst
have
ones I've
to.
seen were in Ukraine. Those were some of the most severe that I've seen was in Ukraine. I also got to see their experiments for the people on the land. They take your blood at birth because they're going to use that later for assimilation. Okay. And they have these domes that are underground and under the oceans and under the seas and stuff that are so massive as an exact replication of like New York, Tokyo, St. Petersburg, stuff like that. And they will clone you, right? And then they don't even realize it, but they were taking our memories from us because they want these characters in this simulation to be as true as possible. Okay. And then they will run the simulation to see how the people act on all kinds of different scenarios, zombie apocalypses and all kinds of different scenarios. So if you ever felt like you've been shot, stabbed, been eaten by a zombie, it's because you are feeling your DNA that's going through. Even though it's a clone, it still came from your DNA. Or I'm
Wow.
falling off of a mountain, or I got eaten by a bear. All kinds of different things that people have experienced in these moments. It's like, well, or I just felt like I walked over my grave, kind
Hmm.
of. Okay, but they run these simulations underneath there, and the ones that I got shown, the biggest ones that God showed me, was over in the Barrett Sea, the Kara Sea, and the Siberian Sea. Okay,
So is that what we're in? Like,
no, we're in
okay.
actually a dome on the surface. These are actually under the water.
Okay.
They actually do have them in the ocean as well for the aquatics that are down there that they had come in contact with and so forth. So they created these domes so these guys can pop up right in there and have air. So they actually do exist down there. But the ones that's in these domes and stuff is really, really horrific on the things and experiments that they have done to our clones. Not everybody gets done like that. Just like they would just, if they needed all the people in New York, they're going to use all those people in New York. You see? There's
Hmm.
not going to be no randomness to it. They're going to use what is there. Um, but it gets worse because God is showing me that underneath these here dams, okay. They also have these gigantic deep bunkers underneath those too. And they have a lot of rituals and stuff there that they do horrific things to children of all shape, color, and sizes. And the reason why they do that there under these here dams and so forth is because whenever that water runs over that negative energy, it takes it with it.
Hmm.
So they
Hmm.
are contaminating it with negative energy. And the dams aren't supposed to be there in the first place. A lot of our dams will be taken down and water will be redirected, okay, because those dams are not supposed to be there. Okay, it's like a plug. It's not supposed to be there.
Supposedly
But
that's
they,
what just happened up in your neck of the woods. Two of them
Yeah,
came
mhm,
North
down.
Carolina, right?
mhm.
Not to change the subject, but yeah.
Yeah. But they flooded a lot of the land before, I'm going to say back, before even the Civil War and all this kind of good stuff. They cleared out a lot of land and they drowned a lot of people because they refused to leave their towns. Brother, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? The movie is a pretty good description of that. They flooded that valley. They didn't care who was there, okay, because they wanted the land. They wanted the people out. They couldn't control them. They didn't want them to cause any more problems, so they pretty much, genocide them all in one shot. So And then now with the dams, it's the same kind of thing. They back that water up so that it's not free flowing. It's not free. It doesn't go naturally. It's being forced back against its will. And on top of that stress, they do these rituals and things underneath these dams all over the planet, all over this area. And like I said, when that water runs over it, it takes that negative energy with it. It contaminates like the water. People don't know no difference, and it makes it worse when they put all kinds of stuff in it. So it's just worse. So,
Mm.
but yeah, that
Yeah.
was when I seen all of the atrocities. I got down to, I can only describe it like underground castle tunnels. Okay, that's what it reminded me of. And I'm going down this. It does have more of a roundish shape to it. But as I'm going down it, you can see like there's they're not torches. They are a light, but they look like a torch that are hanging on, and they're kind of dim. And the further I get into this, I can hear wailings and screams and cries and grunts and moans and all these different sounds. And it's just like I'm going inside of a insane asylum. Okay, and everybody's lit. Everybody's everything is, it was insane. And as I'm going through this, I can see all of these generational people. They've been down there for 4 or 5 generations. They've never seen the light of day,
Right.
never.
Yep.
Okay, and but they are animals. They don't know how to speak. They are an animal. Okay, and therefore they react that way. Now they do have a lot of them that was in cages, but there was some that I could see that was actually loose, but they are just in that raw nature, but they are deformed beyond any, because there's so much mingling in that. Imagine the ancestral things, or the results of all of that. Okay, the monstrosities, I'm gonna call it that. But it was absolutely horrific, and I'm going down this where I can see that they have taken DNA from one species and tried to put it into another,
Hmm.
and it's just mangled, and it's still alive. What I couldn't comprehend that. And then all of a sudden I'm passing by this section, and I can hear the first English words I could hear out of all of this. I heard help, and it made me
Mm.
look. And whenever I looked, there was this dude in this cage, and he was like half owl, half man is the only way that I can describe him. But his torso and stuff is mangled, and you can see that he has somewhat of a human legs, but he has like big eyes and stuff. And I realize he's speaking to me through his mind, and he's saying, "Help." And I told him that we were coming back. So, and that was very heartfelt, because I found myself speaking to this creature that I didn't think anybody was be speaking English, but something inside of it was calling out, and I heard it say help, and I let it know that we were going to come back and help it. And I do know that all of that was successful, and those experiments got taken off and corrected. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But whenever I came out of all of the horror that I witnessed and seen, even right down to the rituals with children and stuff, whenever I came back into my body, the first thing I did was I collapsed and started puking. My body couldn't handle it. I mean, it was like my body was in that much of a shock. I could not deal with it. And whenever I finally caught my breath from so much throwing up, I screamed to the top of my lungs so loud that I cracked my mirror. I cracked my TV. This was such a deep, I mean, I felt every bit of it. And I screamed so loud, and you have to forgive me, gentlemen. And the only thing that could come out of my mouth was, "These motherfuckers need to burn." And I couldn't stop saying it for almost 2 months. It just kept coming out of me. I was like, it's like I could not get it out of my system. I couldn't wash it away. I couldn't keep my mind blank. God wanted me to witness and see what the horror things that all of us has been through. And my sister didn't know how to handle it. I'm surprised I even got through it. But then, God would have that moment. He would come to me, Father, Mother God would come to me and try to comfort me. And I would get ticked and say, "No, let me have my moment. Let me just have this. I want to get this out of my system."
Mm.
And because it was that horrible. But it took me a couple of months to get past that, and to see all of the horrific things that I did. And you didn't get to a point where I feel so much love. That's a drastic jump. And it took me a lot to get to that point.
Mm.
Now, I'm aware of the enemy. I'm aware of what the enemy has done. I'm aware of what the enemy has in its control and what it's using to its benefits. But now I'm more of a strategic player, I'm
Right.
aware of my opponent. Okay. And if I lose my shit, it's going to do me no good. So God gave me time enough to adjust and get ready to come out to be able to talk to anybody that wants to listen about this without me letting my emotions getting the best of me. Because I want to get my point across as truthful as I can and basic as I can so that you'll know that this stuff is actually very real. And if I come across emotional, then I'm not going to get my point across. So
No, that's brilliant. And just to kind of double back on your experience there, I just want to commend you because you're definitely very strong will and soul for doing that. I can tell you that in the beginning of when I was researching a lot of this stuff and learning about the horrors and the atrocities that you're
mhm,
talking about, I had an opportunity to physically watch a video
mhm,
of some of the things you're talking about
mhm.
that I knew before censorship and all this stuff, you could access these leaks and stuff like that, and I didn't watch it.
Right.
To this day, I haven't watched it because, now you probably can't, but
Mhm,
um, I could just feel kind of like what you're saying.
mhm.
Just there was something there that said you don't need to. You already know. You know what
Right.
I
That's
mean?
the reason why they called in these other guys that are higher density, the 4D guys, is because they are familiar. Dealt with situations like that, and these our guys did not. Now, the first one that I got to see go into one of these here bunkers was China, Russia, and America. There were three and three. Okay, three of each. Okay, and they were fixing to go in there, and then another troop came behind them, and in that troop there was a female. That was their first mistake. Okay. And nothing against women, but that was a mistake.
Right.
Okay. And as they're going into this here bunkers and stuff, and everything's cool at first, but you can tell that this is a shallow bunker because it doesn't take them long to get some action, so to speak. Okay. And as they're going in there, and these gentlemen had no idea what they were going to be coming up against, no idea whatsoever. And it was such a shock to their system that one dude took out his gun and just like
Mm,
that, just that fast. And I said, oh, this is going downhill really fast. And then dudes were running backwards to grab that chick to make sure she didn't come in there. And she was all about, I can do this, whatever. It didn't matter. They body slammed her. It did not matter. I don't care what you do, you ain't going in there. And then it just got out of hand. Then I can hear gunshots and stuff like this here. And then the bigger troops, I can actually see Russian military uniforms. There was a more bigger group with them, with the Chinese and the Americans. It's like the first group was just a small one, but then they had other ones that came in. And these dudes were full force. And even they had a hard time. And it had to be, they did succeed, but at a large cost. At a large cost because they had no idea what they were going into. But that them dudes shouldn't have had to been worried about a female that is a distraction, that is putting those men in harm's way. And I don't care how much of a badass you think you are a female. You can be smelt, whether you like it or not. You are fresh meat when it comes around to situations like that. Just
yeah,
an
not
animal.
built
You
that
can
way.
be smelt.
Not
And that's
built
a
that way.
disadvantage to these gentlemen, to these men. So try to take that into consideration, ladies, if you are listening to this, because you are not supposed to be in that position because you become a hazard for the whole team.
That's true. You're just not built that way. It's
That's right.
just biology.
Hmm.
So I
So,
have one question more, and then Echo, I'm sorry, I'll
No, no worries.
turn it over to
Go ahead.
you. I just I've been taking a couple notes here. I just wanted to go back to you were mentioning viewing these facilities that had clones in them. So I
mhm.
kind of just wanted to pivot. Do you see these, how can I ask this? Are these active on our planet right now in certain particular
Absolutely. A lot
roles?
of them's been shut down, but yes, they were highly active. Absolutely. And thanks to a lot of the white hats and these here off-worlders has come in and helped us take control of these here bunkers, the deeper ones. Like I said, we are responsible for the ones, everything on the surface now. Okay. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean that they don't have minions still hiding underground, but all of the horror stuff and everything else has been taken care of. They even brought in dudes. I was so freaking impressed. They brought in these dudes that come from a world that is pretty dark. Okay, so they use like bat vision. These people can see. Okay, and they're an intelligent species. They brought them in here to go into those tunnels that lead down to the reptilians' layers and stuff like this here, because these dudes know their stuff. They are tunneled. I mean, that they're used to that. They can see in the dark. And it was very impressive to me to think that they have like these bat soldiers. I don't know what else to call them, but they can see in the dark because they have adapted to their world. But they had technology, guns and stuff like this here, and they came in to help clear out the reptilians and stuff that was beneath the ground because they can get into those tunnels. So I
Mm,
thought that was pretty awesome. Yeah, I did. I thought it's like you go, boys.
that's right.
Hey, you go, boys. So
It'll be amazing. Hopefully, on the other side of this, I don't know if it'll be in our lifetime or whatever, but hopefully there's some kind of a literal movie or something that's because
yeah.
this is greater than any movie ever made, and it would just be great to have it in a film or something
Oh,
or
oh, it is. No worries.
yeah, she said, "Oh yeah,
It is. No
you're in
worries.
it. You're in it right now."
Yep, absolutely. Just to give you an idea, everybody knows what a blockbuster is, right? You used to go and get your videos and go home for the weekend,
Love Blockbuster. Yeah, I used to
Yeah.
love it.
But you're
Yeah.
going into a blockbuster and you're choosing a movie of your liking, whether it's in the past, in the now, or in the future. Okay. Same thing with a library. You can go in there and research and experience the past, the now, and the future. Correct?
Yeah,
If you look at all the stars in the galaxy, each star is a time pocket. It has its own story. And you can go into any one of those time pockets and experience that movie. Okay. It already exists. Now, which character do you want to play? Okay. And there's seven levels.
wow, wow,
There's 7 levels to it. But this is a game. Do you want to talk about it being a matrix? Well, that's a good way of looking at it. That each star is its own matrix, its own story, its own time pocket. Because it's not going to be the same time on that star as it is here. Okay.
right.
Okay. So and you go into the experience of wanting to, well, for this particular one, we agreed to come in with amnesia because we're such a pro. We're pros, we don't care. And but we agreed to come in with amnesia, and the purpose of this game, even before we got here, even before it got corrupted, its purpose was the odyssey or the journey to wake up to who you are, to discover who you are with minimum obstacles in front of you. Well, now we
Right.
got the kitchen sink and everything else thrown in us, and it makes it a lot harder, you know. But it's very fascinating that if you look at the galaxy like that, it actually is. Each one is its own story, just like a library or a blockbuster, its own movie. And you can go into each one and experience what it has from the beginning of it to whenever it ends. You can cut in that clip anywhere you want. You decide what character you want to be in that clip. And
And
but this one here is the one that has amnesia. That's the reason why it's the hardest. So
so you're talking about our afterlife or our soul or our sovereign energy that transcends body and all that, right?
well, yeah, you are a spirit. You are a reflection of God's source. So let's just say you're a star because you are, but you're a star with a candy coating. Okay. And but yeah, you choose your character and I'm sorry, would you repeat that? I just
No, you're fine. I basically was just trying to clarify for the audience, when you say you can go visit these things, just for people that might not be thinking in that linear fashion, that you're talking about our actual self, which would be our
right,
soul, or our, as you
right,
put it, as our star, which
right.
trans
Well,
train.
you're a star, you don't have a body. So, but you are around other alpha stars that have stories, and you want to go into that. And then you don't have, you're not male or female. Okay. Stars themselves are male, planets are females, but you as source are both combined in one. There is no male or female. It's just source.
Right,
Okay. Okay. By saying male and female, then you have separated it. Okay. All right. So, but yes, you are source that decides it wants to have an experience of itself. So you
right.
choose your character, just like a game. You're going to go in there and you're going to build your character. You're going to pick out the attributes and everything else, and what it looks like. But if you don't pick up the controller, it can't do anything, right?
Right.
You have to control it. Now, wouldn't it flip you out if you put your controller down and your little character just goes all by itself?
That wouldn't be no fun.
Well, that's what God is, because he understands that we came in here. There you go. Now you got your free will, and I'm going to watch you. But every now and then, God will pick up the controller. Okay.
That's
but
a nice
you are
analogy.
a character running amok inside of a game trying to figure things out. And the less obstacles that we have, the natural evolution of it, we would have discovered who we are a lot faster. We would already be in the Jetsons stage, with all of this technology and stuff like this here. But since it got hijacked, we had to send in our pros to help make this game kind of like reset itself in a good way.
So that's kind of like what Cliff I was talking about, how we all volunteered to be here, but we don't remember
right
what it
right.
is, and we're learning what that could be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that made a lot of sense to me when he said that, and I've tried over the years. It's probably been 20 years now. I've tried to astral project myself, where I sit in a quiet room and just kind of meditate and think about things. I've never been able to do it. It's always frustrated me. Up until I want to say about 2 or 3 months ago, I was listening to a show, and the person on the show was like, they asked for a download, and I said, well, maybe I'll just ask for a download. And it wasn't 3 days later that I sat up straight out of bed and shocked out of my being. It felt like I got hit by a bolt of lightning.
Wow.
And this download just hit me. And I should have wrote it down. I remembered it for about a week, and it was just like, oh my God, I asked for this, and it was delivered. So there is definitely something to that, because when I asked for this download and it hit like a bolt of lightning.
Yeah, it does. It does
And
feel like that. I absolutely agree. Did you write it down or anything like that there so you can have it to go back and look at more detail or anything like that?
no, I wish I had. I remembered it for about a week, and I should have. I was so busy at the time. I'm like, oh, I'll remember it. And
Yeah.
so the next one, I got a pad and paper next to the bed.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I'll
I've had
remember the
those
next one.
downloads as well. The first major download that really changed everything on my side was just to make a long story short, my husband
We
passed
got all the time in the world, so
okay.
Can we actually take a quick break?
Yes,
Do you guys
yes.
mind? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's take a 10-minute break, and
Okay.
then we can come back. Is that okay?
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so
don't-
much.
You are watching and listening to the All Aware podcast. Like, follow, and subscribe wherever you are tuning into this episode. Help spread awareness. For more information about the show, visit our website at allawarepodcast.com.
We are the rulers of our own time. This is our life, building a new world. We banish the dark. We are the rulers of our own time. This is our life. We're in a new world. We are the rulers. Brace for the countdown. Change has arrived. The light's taking over the night. We fought and we conquered through blazes of fire. together we fall.
You are watching and listening to the All Aware podcast on the Truance Network. Cut through the fluff. Get the truth. Back to the episode.
So real quick, I was sleeping next to my wife, obviously, and I woke up out of a dead sleep, and she had no idea what just hit me. And I tried to explain it to her, and we talked about it for a few days after that. And to this day, she still doesn't understand what actually hit me. And I don't even understand what hit me. I asked for this. I just didn't understand what I asked for.
We
But I
just
got it.
remember, huh?
But I got it.
It's like
And
I need to read that waiver we signed before we got in here.
The fine print, yeah.
Yeah, the fine print, exactly.
but
Yeah.
it works. So yeah, so off to you. At least let's talk about this.
Well, mine is something like yours for my very first download, but um, my husband had passed away in 2015, and it was a car accident, so it was very dramatic. Okay, it was very sudden, and I had 11 people in my house. My sister had she passed away in 2009. She had five handicapped children. Okay, three girls and two boys, all mentally handicapped. So I had those, my daughter, her husband, my niece, um, her baby, and so I had 11 people. And I didn't have time to react to it because those handicapped children were not going to wait on me, to grieve. And so I had to respond instead of react. And I refused to speak to God because I just wasn't ready for it. I had too much that was, on me that I had to take care of. And just like on a job site, you have to put that shit to side because you're focused on trying to get the job done. And so I went out the door. I called a dude I used to go to high school with, and he owned a place called Kelly's Barbecue. And I said, Bubba, I need a job. He said, doing what? I said, I don't care. Just give me something. I need something to do. And I did it early in the mornings before these kids ever got up. So it'd give me about 6 hours. So I was really getting less sleep, probably about 4 hours a night. And I didn't care. I just couldn't function. I didn't know what to think about what had happened and everything else. But anyway, it was a very horrible thing. And it broke my heart. And I refused to speak to God about it or to grieve over it because of circumstances. And whenever that moment came that, God wanted to get my attention, not now, not being disrespectful to God, but I was just being myself. Please, not now. Let me try to figure this out. And that lasted, I guess, probably about 6 months. Well, I want to take that back, probably about 4 months, because I was coming back from work. And I have to cross over the spot, which is a mile and a half from my house.
Wow.
And I have to cross over that spot. And just whenever I did, I got hit with all of these emotions, all of these feelings. I'm talking like a sailor, and I'm so ticked off. I am just, and thankfully, I'm only a mile and a half from my house, So whenever I get here, that's whenever I broke. And all of that just came out of my system that I was been holding in. And I just like, okay. And I didn't want these kids and stuff to hear me, so I did this outside in my car for the most part. And but whenever I finally got settled down and I came in here and I cried, I fell asleep crying. And then the next day I told God, okay, I'm going to listen. And then crickets. I'm like, great. You've been pestering me for months, and now I'm getting crickets, And that went on for about another 4 months. And I was diligent. Okay, I'm willing to listen now. What were you trying to tell me? What are you trying to tell me? And then I was laying in my bed just like you were, and I was sleeping. And then I heard God's voice. In this incident, it's the male voice. And it's very comforting. It says, Alisa, I need you to get up. And I did. I just instantly got up and complied. And just as soon as I stood up, this light hit me. And it was so powerful. And it came from the top of my head and went slap through my body all the way. And I can see it going down through the floor, through the ground. And I can see that it's amazing, but I can see that it's actually going down and making a connection to Gaia's core. Okay.
Yeah.
And whenever it hits the core, it rebounds and comes back up. So now I got this white light coming down and I got this white light going up. Okay. And as it makes that complete connection, that it starts getting wider until I'm consumed inside of this light. And I am vibrating. I'm surprised my body didn't crack or break or anything, but it also has a frequency to it. And I guess my God did something for my ears that I didn't feel the full intensity of it, but I can feel the vibration of this frequency that's going up and down at the same time. And all of a sudden I realized, I don't know how I realized it, but I realized that they're talking to each other. God is talking to Guy and Guy is talking back. And it is the most profound love that I don't even have no words for. It was a romance. It was like she's longing to try to get this information out to him, and she wasn't able to do it. So he had to come in to get that information, and she was relieved, kind of ordeal. It was like a spectacular romance movie kind of thing.
Mm.
And but whenever the communication finally stopped, the light started coming down in size again, and then I could see that I'm over a grid. And it's not just me, it's like 199 other individuals. Okay, men and women alike, just like me being 200. I find that weird because there was 200 fallen angels, supposedly, and then there's 200 of us. And what it is that we were nodes for the grid, for God to get that information through and clear out the insignias that were placed upon the grid. Okay, that's magic, black magic. And and like I said, I can see these other people all over. I'm assuming they're from wherever they're from, but I can see that I'm not the only one. And then I get put back gently down back into my home. And I was in physical form. I was not in astral. I was in physical form. Okay. And whenever I came back down and landed on my feet very, very gently, it was like, what just happened to me? I was like, I was the hungriest I've ever been in my life. I had so much energy running through me. I didn't know what to do with myself, and I couldn't sit still. And but I couldn't move. It was just like that stunned moment of what just happened, and then God gave me the information as it kind of toned itself down. I can hear God telling me that I was a node, and that was one of the reasons why I was called, is so that I can work for my brothers and sisters and help clear out these grid marks, or these insignias on the grid marks. And I think that whenever that happened, either a lot of information got left in me, or a lot of information got woken up in my DNA, because I know so much, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. And I always have an answer. It just keeps going. It amazes me. But that was my first major download. It was so powerful, gentlemen. It turned my hair white. This camera is not doing me justice. My hair is white. We're talking like paper white. Okay. And I noticed that, and I was like, oh my God, now my hair turned white. That's how powerful it was. But whenever I finally did get settled, and I did, I guess, kind of like lay myself on my bed, I was in that a bliss, a euphoria.
Mm.
Like you were saying, Nate, and then with your experience as
Yeah,
well, it's just
absolutely.
like you don't have no explanation for it.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah. And you're trying to rationalize it and your brain can't. It's like, what just happened? But from that point on, I started getting all of this information. It just kept flowing in. And I'm really, really pleased that I've been able to retain as much information as I have. Um, I mean, I smoked pot in my life. I figured I burnt some brain cells or something. So, but it's just amazing to me that I have actually retained as much information I had. But it started with that one. And once that started, everything else started flowing. That after that is whenever I made contact with Hanai and Kalen, which are the Tartarians. Okay, I made contact with them. And then through that contact, whenever I went up to that mothership, is whenever I met I guess the rest of my team, if you want to call them my team. But I met the two Palladians, and that is Onar and Corian. And they're the ones that helps me with all of this technology that I'm dealing with. And uh, I want to say kind of like the humanitarian projects, but they're more quantum based than they are on hands. So, and I also met an Andromedan and half human, and I don't know how to explain it. He looks human, but he has like a blue hue to him. Okay. I'm sorry, he's half Andromedan and half Palladian. I apologize, I got that wrong. He's half Andromedan and half Palladian, and he looks like a Palladian, like a surfer, okay, kind of ordeal, but he has a blue hue to his skin, and I thought that was very, very unique.
Hmm.
And he is taking care of or assisting the ships that are guarding around us and stuff like this here. So, and it was a very big honor, I guess, to meet something like a captain, if you want to call him that, like a captain. But he was letting me know that they were the ones that's observing us. Yeah, all eyes are on us. We're the star. Okay,
So
all eyes are on us.
question.
And
So question was,
then I got to meet Daya. She is also Tartarian, but she's more of an assistant type role. Okay, if I need something tangible here in paperwork or whatever, she helps me with that. Where Hanai and Kaylin, for the most part, they're my escorts. They'll get me from point A to point B. And then here comes the good part. I got to meet John Mitchell. And this gentleman is absolutely fascinating. He's just like us. He was born in a body down here like us, boots on the ground. And he is from Austria. And his father is ex-military. So um, his father was a military. He met a beautiful woman over in Austria. They fell in love. There you go. There's John Mitchell. Okay, but he is the driver of these ships. It doesn't matter. It could be a helicopter, airplane, jet. It don't matter. A spaceship. He knows how to drive all of this stuff. Okay, and a lot of things about him, for some reason, makes me think of the what are they called? Spetsnaz? Is that what that top elite kind of team is?
Oh,
Spetsnaz.
in the talking about in the Air Force?
No, it's like the Russians top best of the best of the best of the best
Gotcha.
secret
hmm,
space kind of guys. But he has a lot of knowledge on the military aspect of it. Okay, because he's had to deal with the military and the things and the information that he's learned. So I'm really, really pleased that I actually met somebody because everybody else doesn't have a last name. He does. So I like that. Okay, and he has taken me to the islands. He was my driver a couple of times in one of these little pods. Okay, the first time it was Kayla and Hanai that was actually taking me around in that thing. But now he became the driver. And then he also became this is how I know he can do those things. I was in a helicopter and he was flying. I was in a plane, he was flying. I was in a seaplane and he was flying. So this dude's got some skills. Okay. And but that was the group that I got to meet whenever I went to the meeting on that mothership, because a lot of people had asked me what was the meeting about. Well, that was to introduce me to my team, I guess, if you want to go. We are a team. They're not my team. We are a team. Okay. And also I have quarters on that ship. And whenever
Hmm.
they took me to my quarters, it was pretty much like a long corridor kind of thing. And the doors on these sides, they don't look like doors. They pretty much look like panels, if you want to. But whenever I walked up to it, they told me to touch the door. And what it was is when I touched the door, it scans my DNA, and it's only for me. That's my room. It was made and put there for me, and not even realize it. And whenever I came on the ship, we have to go through that like that force field to get into the hangar bay, right? We were scanned at that time too, so I'm pretty sure it checked out my DNA then too. But it's a great security thing. You got to think about that. It's excellent security, and it can tell if you're a clone or not. Apparently, it's very that advanced. And but I got to meet my team and our I'm going to say I got to meet my team, and they're fascinating people. They're very intelligent beings, and Hanai and Kaling have given me such vast knowledge on Tartaria. Okay, and that's where I know that the Tartarians are going to be our middle guys. Okay, they will be our escorts when it comes time for us to go in these med beds, these quantum med beds. These guys are going to be our taxi. Okay,
And
they
Tartarian is outside of the dome, right? That they're the ones that are
no,
on
they're
the
outside of
super plane.
the first ice wall that
Okay.
surrounds us. Okay, like we're in a corral. Well, that ice wall is actually down now. Okay, but outside of that ice wall is a lot more continents, and that's where
Mhm.
the Tartarians are. It's kind of like they were pushed from this point out to that point. Okay,
Okay.
but they were enslaved as well. They were their technological slaves and maids. Okay, they did a lot of things with maids and kind of like butlers and stuff like this here, but they used them to create the technology. That's what their slavery is, where we're in the more industrial farming, all that kind of stuff. They
Blue
were, we
collar.
were, yeah, but these guys, but that they were in clean jobs. all making different technologies for them and for trade. Okay. And but now whenever they got liberated, they had worked on them first. They went from the outside in to working on us now. They had to liberate them, but there's two ice walls. There's one on the inside that's 25,000 miles around, and then the second one is 50,000 miles around, and then the next one is the dome itself, 100,000 miles around. Okay. Well, on that inner one, you got all those continents with the Tartarians on it, but behind that last ice wall, there is more continents out there, and that is the land of giants, gentlemen. That's the land of
Ah.
giants. So, and that's why they had their own territory. Okay. But they were also a type of, I don't want to say they were enslaved because a lot of them were willing to do it, but they were brutes and they could be used for force. Okay. And because they had lost their way as well. So, but there is good amongst even the bad. There were some good ones in there and stuff like this here. But whenever everybody got liberated, it was like even these giants in their attitudes, it's like they had that moment. They woke up. They woke up and they realized, okay, we need to stop this. We no longer have to be these slaves and stuff like this. We don't have to listen to them. But they were also controlled with the chips. Even though they were giants, they were controlled by chips. So they were literally a slave because
So,
they were unpredictable. You can control somebody your size, but to try to control somebody that, that's a building, you need to have something else to be able to control that kind of size. Okay. And so that you can literally say that they were enslaved as well, but they're working their way inwards to now we're in our corral. They got liberated and they have all this technology and they're going to bring all this technology to us because it already exists. Okay. And they're going to teach us how to use it. And they're also going to be our middlemen and our escorts, our wealth managers, our mentors, our scientists, architects, engineers, drillers, landscapers, all of these different aspects that we're going to need for these humanitarian projects. These guys are going to come in and they're going to help us. They're going to be part of our team. Okay. So they want us to succeed. So, and I think that's fantastic because we're told that there's about 8 billion of us. That's not true from what I've been told. There's only
Right.
about 5 billion of us, and about a billion of us is not who they're supposed to be. We'll put it like that. Um, but in Tartaria, there's about 9 billion of them. No, no lie. They double us.
Oh my
So because the
goodness.
land masses are so much more bigger and spread out than it is here. Here it's concentrated. Okay, so you can only have like so much. Let's put it like that, maybe. But they told us that there are 8 billion of us because they want us to stay in that state of mind of lack. There's not enough. There's too many people. Okay, and even at 8 billion, that's still a lie. We have still more than enough to take care of 8 billion people. But it amazed me to find out that they have that many people over there. That was fascinating. And the good thing about it is, the interesting part about it is that you still have, 15 footers over there. You know, can you
Yeah.
imagine that? I've seen it, so I was
Yeah.
impressed. I was impressed. I was like, those are some big dudes, man. But they don't look like the ones that they've shown over here where they have heart problems and their elongated heads or bony looking arms and stuff. No, they look like men and women. There is no difference. They just happen to be a larger size.
Didn't they just dig
oh,
one of those up somewhere over on the other side of the planet here? I saw something just recently where they dug up a giant. Did you guys hear about that?
the
Oh, I've heard about different
Smithsonian digs
things
them
being
up all
dug
the
up all
time.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
And then they'll
Smithsonian
deny
digs
it.
them
Oh,
up
no, no.
all
Or
the
the
time.
Smithsonian comes in and swoops it up.
Yeah, they hide it real quick. Yeah. There
Yeah.
was a picture floating around of one and it looked authentic. I know there's AI and stuff now too, but I wish I could remember where I saw that. But yeah. Anyways.
Let me get on. But it's like this, I'm saying this story, it just gets more expansive and more expansive and more expansive because it's all connected and how it came to be and everything else. It's absolutely amazing. But I do know that the ice walls themselves are down. Okay. It took a long time since 2012 to get these here ice walls down because you're talking ice walls that are a mile high and 10 miles thick.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then somebody was like, "Oh, why?" I said, "That's a guarantee, my friend. That's a guarantee. That's what that's called. To make sure you don't get access to what's behind that wall." Okay. And it took a long time and wars out at those ice walls on both of them for us to get control back of that. Now, whenever the ice walls came down, because we are aware that there are water in those rings, okay, and it has been separated from the other water for so long. Well, they end up having to put down these very advanced buoy type of things to make a barrier, not a wall up, but like a wall down. And what this barrier does, it keeps those creatures from coming over here and messing with our creature.
Mm.
Because those creatures are not, they are nothing like our creatures. Everything over here has been dumbed down. They're a lot smaller and stuff like this here. But there is really larger species that are in that water, and including out where, the giants, the land of the giants. Because you've got to think, you have to have some pretty large serpents or fish or whatever to feed a giant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it makes sense that these things really do exist, but because we are in this here little corral, they have made everything smaller for us to fit us as smaller species. So it's easier to control. So they put these barriers so that those things can't mix as of yet. So when the energies come in and start changing that frequency, then these creatures will be able to inhabit the one ocean.
So how did the giants get here in this realm in the first place? Because they've dug up skeletons, um, and the Smithsonian comes in, swoops them up, and then takes them away.
Hmm. So where did they come into this movie?
Yeah, where do they come from? Or were they just
Well,
kind of
they
here and they got stuck here?
they actually originate from genetic mixing with what the race is called the Anunnaki. Okay, because the Anunnaki are not small beings. These are 15, 20, 25 footers. Okay. Okay, these dudes are big. So, and whenever they came here and um I know that I would like to tell you, how that came about, but I'm gonna stay focused that they were making these here genetic experiments here to try to make their size smaller, okay, to adjust to the beings that were already here, and the beings that were already here are called Tarians,
Mhm.
okay, and now we know them as Tartarians, okay. But because the Tartarians rebelled against them, they wanted to create something of their own that they could control. Okay, so they tried to annihilate the Tarians and made them rush away. And then they created a mixture of that, something that they can make as a slave. And then those slaves were also very large in stature because they're doing mining work. You're going to want something strong.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And then out of those guys, whenever they realize that they don't have to take their crap no more, it's whenever things really go wrong. So now you got not just got the little people that's rebelling, but now you got the slaves that you created that's rebelling. Okay. And the ruler over this here scenario is Enlil. Okay. And he's an Anunnaki. And him and his brother Inky, had this conflict, but Enlil decided he would take control of this, and Enki would take control of Nibiru, okay, for a time being, okay. But he didn't like all these Heritarians and all these, uh, well, he would call them his children because they are part Anunnaki. They were just dumbed down, but he didn't like the noise and the rebellion that the people were causing, so he was going to make a flood, and that's the Noah flood that we heard about, okay.
Okay.
All he had to do was open the floodgates, literally opened the floodgates, and it just poured right on in. Things got so out of hand with the genetic experiments and everything that they did to us and tried to annihilate the species and so forth. It became something that's kind of like what's called the T virus. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
Yeah, from Resident Evil.
Right, from Resident Evil. That's the
Yeah.
most horrific thing, huh? Well, they considered it something like that it needed to be contained. Okay, and then that's whenever the dome got put up. And the dome got put up by the Arcturians, the Andromedans, the Lyrans, and the Palladians. Okay, they
So is
wanted
the
to make
dome it's energy. It's something you can pass through.
at that time you can come through the portals. Okay, but whenever things went wrong and it was contained, those portals were shut off. And
Okay.
we're talking total containment. They needed to contain the site and make sure they don't get out. Okay.
Okay.
Very, very catastrophic. And the ones who were aware of this was going to happen because Inky did have a heart for the people that were here because he had a relationship with them whenever he was here. He had a heart for these beings. So he made sure that some people were notified of this to try to save themselves. Majority didn't want to listen, okay, but they were at least notified in some way. But we lost a lot of them. But whenever Enlil opened up the floodgates, it pretty much drowned everything. And it wasn't no coming from the sky for 40 days and 40 nights. This was a wall miles high of water coming at you. There was no intent for survival. He wanted to wipe it clean and start over. So he almost succeeded. You
And
know,
Inky was Anunnaki, which is what a lot of the ancient alien shows talk about.
right.
Correct. So it's kind
Hmm.
of like God with the small G,
Yeah.
is
They
what we're
called them
talking.
the gods with a little s or a little g and a little s. But yeah, and they are large in stature. The only thing that I can compare them to, and I know I don't think I'm wrong, they are Klingons. Okay. That's the best way to describe them suckers. They are Klingons. Okay, they are a warfaring species, and the hair, and they do have a type of ridge to them. That's the reason why they would wear the bands around them. But if you could see them, you would swear up and down you're looking at a Klingon. Okay. And they had the ripples in their noses and stuff. They had this status about them, but they were to their environment. And they had the long dreads that looked like that too. As they show in the drawings or the carvings of them, they had those long dread looking curls, you know, and or wavy curls or wavy hair. But that to me is a Klingon. I don't care what anybody says. But but out of that, it was like they needed to smaller size everything, and therefore you went from something that was massive as Titans all the way down to what we would consider, a 10 or 12 footer down to the 4 footer. So, and all of it is a progression downwards due to genetic manipulation. They figured if they made us smaller, they can control us easier. So,
Yeah, it makes
So,
sense.
so question, why is our planet so important to them? Why are they here? Why why are they even involved in any of this?
the Anunnaki or just overall?
Just overall, I mean,
Okay.
why not just leave us to figure ourselves out?
Because we were captured. Okay. Just like there's pirates in the oceans here, there's pirates in the space out there. And they seen an opportunity and they took advantage of it. And instead of, letting it be to evolve on, just get what you need and go, no, we got to control it. We want this port for us. This is ours. This is golden. Nobody's claimed it yet. So it became a commodity, enough for it to be defended and controlled. Okay. And uh, uh, our star, like I said, it travels at 1 million miles an hour and it's going through the galaxy and everything's in a whirlpool. It will all go back to the center eventually. Okay. But as it's going forwards, it goes in a spiral. Okay. Okay. And when it's up, that's positive, down is negative, up ones and zeros. Okay. All right. Simple as that. And as it's going along its path, other stars are going along their path too. Okay. And remember when I said that stars are males, planets are females. Okay. The star is a positive energy and the planet is a negative energy. Okay. The positive and the negative. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you to remember as above, so below, and basics of nature. Okay. And as a Saul is booking through the through the galaxy, just like a lion or a bear or whatever out in the wilderness, if he smells a female, what is he going to do? He wants that harem. He wants that.
It's going to head
Okay.
towards it.
That's right. And ain't nothing going to stop him. They'll fight over it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just something in them they can't help themselves. Well, Saul knows there's a female ahead of him. He can smell her from a million miles away. Okay, he's no different. He's
Literally.
alpha. Literally, he's an alpha. Okay, and he can smell that this is on his path, so this is going to cause him to want that even more. And he comes across 4 brown dwarfs that are just really close to his path, and they're going to bump. It's going to be a collision of sorts, okay? And he comes across these 4 brown dwarfs, and they're in perfect sync. Two goes out, goes around, to go out and come around. Okay, it's in perfect sync. Okay, but in a brown dwarf, they're a very clouded star. Okay, and the cloudiness of it is so thick that it's really hard to see through it. But you can still have planets within that cloud. Okay, now whoever's inside of that, they can't see the stars in the universe because it's so cloudy. Okay, so they think that whatever they're seeing, that's their sky. And with these particular brown dwarfs, it's called a purple dawn because all of them radiated a different color of purple in that hue of them clouds. Whatever was in there is going to have that purple dawn. Okay, and there is not night and day. There's no night and day in that. There's just one thing. You have a twilight on one side and then the purple dawn on the other. Okay, and there's going to be a collision with these. Well, whenever a star with Saul, because he is an alpha, he's going to be more powerful than a brown dwarf. Okay, and therefore, not only is he going to attack it because it's a weaker force, but it also has females. So them dudes are going down, right? Because he wants them at all costs. So because they're so close, he will send out like bolts of lightning, a galactic bolt of lightning, because he wants to make contact. That's their battle. And it will try to defend itself. It will send out back forth. So you got this here electric shock going back and forth between these here two stars. Okay. But because the Saul is the alpha, okay, he's stronger. He is sucking the energy off of these stars. Okay, a positive star is going to suck the energy off of whatever comes in his path if it's another star, especially if it's weaker.
Right.
So it strips the atmosphere off of these here stars. Now, they're set up in like on a pool table, one behind the other. Okay, when the first one gets hit, that's like the cue ball. Okay, and it hits and it rolls, and now you got a massive pinball game going on a pool table. Okay, because this is a battle. These stars are going to defend themselves. Okay, and they're going to defend their females that they have. Okay, so and because it is such, their Saul was too powerful, it pretty much broke them. They lost. And the energy gets sucked off of these here brown dwarfs, and therefore it exposes the females. So now he pulls those females to him. They're mine. Always. He won them. Okay. But what happens to those brown dwarfs? They're no longer stars. They turn into gas giants. And that's where we have Saturn and Jupiter and Neptune and Uranus. Those are the four brown dwarfs that this star came across and took their star status, if you want to call it that, and he turned them into shepherds. They do have all these moons and stuff like this here around them, but they're not a star. Alpha Saul controls it all. It's like, okay, dude, you can stay here, but you're my shepherd. But I control all females. That's his harem. Okay. And because it's important, just like here on the ground, why is that animal so compelled to get to that female? It's because within her
nature,
his immortality.
Yeah.
Okay. And he doesn't know nothing except I got to do it. I got to do it. And the same thing with humans. That's why we are compelled to come together, is because without the man realizing it, he might like her beauty and all of that kind of good stuff, but he sees her as the most perfect biological replicator to give him a sense of immortality of himself.
Wow.
Okay? All right. And
That's
the
a
same
good way
thing
to
with
explain
her.
that.
Yeah. And then with her, oh, he's so wonderful. I want to make a copy of him. So fantastic. People don't realize this is what it is. These two forces are coming together because they want to create each other. But when it comes to male and female, he wants something that can produce an heir or a copy of himself that can be taught to be this here nice status of a man, so that whenever it's out on the field, he trains it. He knows what to look for. The same thing he looked for in his mother. And then when it's a girl, you want to teach that girl to look for the same thing that she admired in that man, because you're going to be putting them both out onto the playing field. And people don't take that into consideration anymore. They don't take it as serious as it used to be. But the star is the positive, the light. The planet is the negative, the dark. Okay. Now the star is 50.01%, and she is 49.99. And people say, well, that's not balance. That's not equal. If we're in a duality universe of balance, that's not. Well, it has to be that 0.1% difference. Why? It's because the light, a star, is projecting out every bit of its energy, right? And she's trying to push it. She's trying to crush it. Okay. If he didn't have that 0.1% advantage over her, she would crush him. The darkness is the negative female energy, and the light is the male. So whenever it first comes about, okay, he has to keep her at bay. Otherwise, he is going to be collapsed. Okay, so he needs that little 1 extra%. And that shows you, and the benefit of that is that he's also her light, her torch, her guide. Okay. That's what you guys are supposed to be. You are
Yeah,
leaders. You
right.
are guides. You are protectors. You're
I
supposed
wish
to show us where to go.
I wish
Okay.
more
And she
people
is so
understood that.
willing. Yeah. And she is so willing because she's so captivated by his beauty. Look how beautiful he is. He shines. And she wants a piece of that, right? So whenever the star is made, just as when the star is made, so is a planet, a mate for it. Not always, but majority of the time, a mate is created with it. So you have a bright star that is the male. He has no surface. He is a star. Okay. She is, in all sense and purposes, she is a dark star, the most beautiful black diamond you have ever laid eyes on. She's the opposite. He's light. She's dark, except she has a coating. Okay. And because of that, it creates this relationship, male and female, positive, negative, and
Mhm.
he shines down on her and fertilizes her. Okay.
Mhm.
And every aspect, he gives birth to everything. You are related to a bug. Okay. Because these two entities came together and made all that dwells on this planet. He watches over it, she gives birth to it. And he also is constantly fertilizing her. Okay.
Mhm.
And but this is what the purpose of the man is to lead, teach, guide, reproduce, to have immortality in any kind of way. God doesn't, he's not biased just to humans because he gets it in bugs and everything else too. But the human part is the ones that's conscious enough to realize that they can do the same thing. You are a star, gentlemen, with a candy coating on it. The female are a black diamond with a candy coating on it. And those two forces are compelled to come to each other together. It's because of magnetism. Okay.
Hmm.
They're purposely drawn to each other. Otherwise, none of us would give a crap about reproducing or having children or going forwards or nothing. If there wasn't some kind of a magnetism, or a woman says, I gotta have a child. I'm just, my clock's ticking. They're compelled, right? So it's magnetism. And what does she need to make that clock stop ticking? She needs a man in order to
Mhm.
help her create that. And the same thing with him. He
Brilliant.
wants her because he understands that human beings are the one of the most perfect biological replicators known. Okay, because we can create something out of what would appear to be nothing.
Mm.
We are creating another being, another vessel that God could come in and experience itself through. So I think that's pretty cool. And I love the
It's
romance of that between the male and the female. You have your role. I mean, it's not like you have to bow to your man or anything like this here. He's a king and you're a queen. Whenever that king went out to fight in battle, he didn't take his queen with him. He left her there because he had confidence in her that she was going to take care of all those mothers, all those children, everything right there. So see,
Right.
that's where she shines. So that whenever he comes back, everything's cool. Okay.
that's an amazing way to describe that, and a lot of the male and female problem dynamics we're having today. That's
Mhm.
the way you described it there is a brilliant way to look at it.
Hmm.
So the
And
universe
now, if you
is
take a
masculine
star, a
and
male
feminine.
star, and you inject female estrogen into him, what's going to happen to him? Yeah,
Well,
you can
self-destruct.
self-destruct. The millennials, all these college students, a majority of them,
They're gonna
but they're
self-destruct. Yeah.
confused. They're
They're
confused on
confused.
their roles. So
Yeah,
once you
that's what
get
it is.
back to that role, you're not going to think that, well, a man is better than me. No, he's not. He's your equal. The
Right.
only difference is that he is your bodyguard and you're not appreciating it. He is your
Different roles.
provider and you're not appreciating it.
Yep.
You want, when somebody
Yeah.
wakes you up in the middle, oh, I heard something. What do? You throw your husband out there first, but yet you won't make him a sandwich. Go figure,
Right. Right.
you know?
Wow.
Yep. Wow. Yep. Exactly. The roles, yeah, roles.
Yeah.
Confusing roles.
you know.
Let me propose this. Let's take another quick break. And I want to come back and I want Lisa to walk us through what happened in the backyard and how you got up to the ships. But at
Okay.
the same time, there's so much more to talk about because Val Thor and Eisenhower. There's
Hmm.
so many things to talk about, but just depending on how much time we have, maybe we can do another segment at
Okay.
some point down the road. But let's get as far as we can, and we'll take a quick break.
If you are a fan of this show, view other episodes and subscribe on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and almost anywhere else you watch or listen to podcasts. You may also want to check out Echo Hotel's channel, Nightwatch, on YouTube and Rumble by typing in Echo Hotel Nightwatch in the search bar.
I am lost, I am gone. What went wrong? I cried, find me soon. I am falling from the moon. I don't know, what am I to do? I need help. I am falling from the moon. From the moon, echoes aloud inside my mind, my mind. I can't escape, I'm lost in time. God give me grace.
And that was Falling from the Moon, song that was written and created by our guest tonight, Alisa Saoni. So you can check that out on her website and her YouTube page and get more of her videos and her music on her page, which we're going to share at the end of the podcast. So be sure to check that out if you like the song. And she has a lot more music of a similar type. So let's get back here to the episode. And we're talking with Alisa Saoni. Here we go.
So tip your
You,
glass.
you know, there's
Oh,
after listening to you um, for the last month, and I've kind of known this my entire life. I've just relaxed and let the universe and the Lord kind of take the
hmm.
lead.
Absolutely.
And there are certain things that have happened in my life over the last month. Nathan knows what they are,
Hmm.
where I could have blown a gasket and got upset and things could have happened. And I've gone the other direction. I look at it like a blessing,
Hmm.
where I'm going to have more time at home and more time
Hmm.
um, to make sure my family and my little piece here is protected. Um, and there's a reason that happened.
I agree. It's
So
kind of
yeah,
like we can feel and we can, now that we can look back on it, we can see that transition that we made.
yeah,
That rude awakening or connecting the dots. And that is proof that, you can speak the truth every day, but eventually they're going to realize it, and we all have that little epiphany, and it definitely is helping us along all these paths because, we can start connecting the dots in ways we never even realized. And we can see how it's connected and how we are connected as one. We might look like we have different bodies, but we are of the same source, you
yes,
know, and we agreed to come in here. I mean, even at that level, it's like God has reflections of itself in tears. Okay, but it's tears in every direction. It just keeps going out. And we were on, on those different levels, whether it be an eighth dimensional being or whatever, but we was on the levels that he needed, that reflection of himself to come in here and help those that got lost. And to think about it in a story way, it's an epic story, gentlemen. I mean, it might hurt to hear a lot of the truth, but it's better to hear it and get through it and see the other side that it does have a success ending, a good ending to the story.
I
And,
look forward to that other
Mhm.
side. I really do.
Mhm. And it's
Nathan
going to be
and
quite
I,
different, my brothers. It's going to be so fascinating and different as we go forwards because it's kind of like we're catching up to ourselves.
Mm.
mhm.
Okay. We were denied this here pretty much 1,000 years of getting up to the Jetson stage. Okay. And we were denied that. It was kept from us. It was
That'd be
suppressed.
a fun stage.
Huh?
Yeah, that would be a fun stage.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're going to bypass that because our brothers and sisters, need our help. So we're going to help them make that quantum leap. Now, once the dome comes down, all of our brothers and sisters that got raptured from these other worlds and other lives, they had families, homes, things that they were doing, they will go back. We will go back to where we were. We were only called to come do this, and we sacrificed leaving our families to do what God asked us to do. So we have worlds, families, different species that we come from, either in higher dimensions. And of course, we would want to go home.
So it'll
Right.
be one big family reunion.
Yes, exactly. And that's what's going to happen. Once this year
Beautiful.
comes down, we get to celebrate with everybody that's in that photon belt. Now think about this, gentlemen. This is mind-boggling. It's not just our stars in that solar photon belt. There's millions of stars, billions of stars in that strip. So we're going to be able to communicate and have relations with that many stars because there's no walls, there's no barriers, there's no time in the photon belt. Okay? There's
So will
no.
the people that are in the lower energy, the
Mhm,
people that I was talking about earlier,
mhm.
that just don't see it right now, are they going to be left behind, or will something hit them and they'll wake up and be like, "Oh my God,
Well,
why didn't I see this 5 years
yeah.
ago?"
Well, that happened to us. So they'll have their moment too, but the way that God has it planned out to do it to his best their best advantage is it seems like it's snail mail kind of thing going slow, right? But
Yeah.
whenever these new generation, the second and third and fourth generation of med beds come out, that's going to change the scene a little bit. And then whenever the RV happens, which I believe that is immediate, that's going to be happening immediate. Then that's going to cause people to go out there and start doing their humanitarian projects. Now, what are these people going to be doing? They're going to be seeing us do this stuff,
Well,
right? They're going
hold
to
on.
start. Uh,
Let me stop you for a minute because Nathan and I are both on that that exact plane. We have our humanitarian projects set and ready,
Yep.
nice.
Got the
but
file set,
we're
ready to
not
go.
allowed to talk about them from
Yeah.
Yeah.
what we've been told. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
um,
Well, you'll get asked these questions and stuff whenever the RV happens. Whenever you go into exchange, please make sure you use that word exchange. You're not there to sell out. You're not there to turn it in. You are there to exchange it.
yes,
And you
Okay.
think that'll be in our lifetime?
Absolutely. I think that's immediate. I think
Okay.
that's right at our door.
God,
It
we
feels
can't
like it.
wait.
Yeah.
I
Because I do keep
cannot
up
wait.
with Iraq and pretty much a good variety of it that God wants me to say, okay, see, it's happening. Oh, it's over here. And he makes sure that I pay attention to it because I can see that it actually is happening. And there is our gurus and truthers out there that are talking about this stuff too with the RV. But
Mhm.
I mean, nobody knows anything exact except for the ones that's playing the cards, the
Right.
ones that are setting it up. Okay, but we are right there because Sadani has done said we've gone international. We have gone digital. We have been brought it into these quantum banks. We're building 5 million houses, 5,000 schools, hospitals, and everything else. So how is he going to do that? He's going to need money to do that, right? So
Right.
if he doesn't reevaluate his currency because their currency was based off in the 80s, it was like 347 to $1. It was supposed to be $3.47 to $1. But right now it's sitting at like a 13.10, and that would be like a -3 for the dollar. It's really bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad. But they can't use that monies and be able to buy all the things that they need to bring in to create this infrastructure and everything. Now they have rare minerals and oils and stuff, but they don't have wood. They don't have metals like we do. Okay, so they need this stuff to come in to help them build a more modern type civilization. Okay, so what they're doing is that they used to base it off of just oil. Okay. But
Right.
then if America came in and said, you're going to sell me your oil for $50 a gallon, and they said no, they said, well, yep, we're going to take it.
Right.
And they crumbled them and
Yeah.
forced them to only be able to sell it to America for dirt cheap. Nobody else could buy it, because if anybody else bought it from them, then their ass was in trouble. It was only America can do that, and they stamped them, and that made their value of their money drop.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
then we use promissory notes instead
Mhm.
of actual gold or silver or anything of
Yeah.
any commodity. So then that's why the dollar then became oil backed.
Mhm.
And we have those problems. That's a whole nother podcast too. But
But
we
it is going to gold, though. That's the whole point. It's
yes,
because everybody's familiar with the miles of gold under the Vatican. Okay. Well, that was confiscated and returned to the countries it belonged to.
yes, like 600,
Amen.
Now they
600
can back
Amen.
airplanes.
their
Yep.
monies with gold and silver. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, and Iraq is no exception to the rule. Okay. But Iraq also has rare minerals that we do not have. Okay. That be their commodities of things that are being exported out. It's going to be very valuable. And what they're bringing in is going to be very valuable. And it's going to be a balance. Things coming in and out. Okay.
Apparently, North
So be
Carolina
profit,
has
huh?
apparently North Carolina has some seriously rare earth minerals
Hmm.
too,
Lithium.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Lithium. Yeah.
which
Um,
brings into question the last week.
Mm.
right.
Well,
So that is a
and
commodity that we can trade out now or keep to
Hmm.
ourselves and use it to our benefit. So yeah.
well, there's information about some of the tunnels underneath that area of the country as well, and how some flooding could have happened in order to assist with some of the taking out of some of those dams and
Hmm.
things that were under South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you think about if you can just cut an ant hill in half and you can see the structure and how it keeps
Yeah.
going down more in all those tunnels, that's pretty much what it looks like underneath. On a grand big scale, no joke. And the mag labs that run from north to south and east to west, also they all have ports. These things has been functioning for a long time. They really picked up speed, I want to say internationally in the 70s. So this is how long they've had this technology, these mag labs. So,
Yeah, it started in the
They
50s. The the
mhm.
the discovery
Right.
of all this and the Nazis and all that traces back to a
Mhm.
lot of that too, and
Yeah, but
deals
think
they
about
made.
all those tunnels. They're using them. They
Yeah,
didn't have to dig them out. They were already there.
true, true.
You
Yeah,
know? So that was very, very helpful to them to get that stuff laid out pretty fast. And like I said, all the countries want to have it underneath their ground too for their elites and all that kind of good stuff. But that we'll be able to have access to those. That will be our new subways. So because they all have points where they meet that you can pick up and drop off people. So
yeah.
they've talked about subtunnels all the way up into Las Vegas,
mhm.
out of the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, there's some that goes underneath the ocean. Absolutely. And there's bases that are underneath the ocean floor. It blows your mind. It's true.
Oh yeah.
Have bases that far down and deep that we have no idea. And it took an alien race with the high technology to be able to help them accomplish that. Now, our dudes on our own couldn't have done that. So this
No.
is definitely proof that they brought in forces, the evil forces, negative forces to help them do so. So, but it amazes me how all of it's like a catacomb. It's
Yeah.
amazing the tunnels and everything. So,
So,
but
do you think BRICS is a force of good in this? I know that everything that happens there's a good and then
right.
there's a bad, and the bad version often mimics the good with
Hmm.
just a few little tweaks. So how is BRICS? A lot of people are buzzing that the BRICS nations and this whole thing is a force of good to bring about the RV and this and the monetary
Well,
Nasara and things like
absolutely.
that.
Just think about the negative banks and all the negativity. It
The
has to
cities,
have God showing the positive side of it,
yeah,
and it's coming out, okay? And it's going to devour and take that over. Remember, like I told you, the light just consumes it.
right,
You
yep,
know. But yes, BRICS is definitely a light force. It's going to be very beneficial to all of us because all the currencies that they're going to be dealing with will be gold backed.
Right.
There is 209 countries, and as of right now, 159 have signed on to BRICS, solidified. It's a done deal. Okay, and they will be joining the RV and revert or reevaluating their currencies too, because like I was saying, all of these countries' gold that was taken from them has been returned to them, and all their precious metals and all their rare minerals have been turned to them that was taken from them. And I was shocked the miles and miles and miles and miles of this stuff that is underneath the Vatican. So
Oh,
it
I
just
bet.
blows my mind.
I think
Well, it
that's a
was,
Saint Germain Trust, Echo, if I'm not right. Do you remember? Is that part of that? That's part of that gold that we got back, right? Was from that Saint Germain Trust
Mhm.
that
it
the
was it was
Right.
what,
It's
elites,
six,
all been
six
returned.
yeah,
Yes. So, and think about, I don't know if you gentlemen are familiar with Dante's Inferno.
yes,
It's the cone. It goes down to the different layers all the way to what would be considered hell.
yeah.
Okay. That is what's underneath the Vatican.
Mm,
And it goes deeper and deeper and deeper until it's just, you just wouldn't believe it. So, and,
mm.
and and I think that's where the description came from, is because somebody experienced that, and then they drew it because that's how it was drawn for Dante's Inferno. So
well, Dr.
somebody knew
Jan,
something.
Yeah, they did.
Hmm.
Dr. Jan, she talked about it, and it was 650 plane loads of gold that got flown out of the Vatican. It
Hmm.
got flown somewhere.
Absolutely.
We can
So
only surmise that it was for our benefit.
it was. It was to
Um,
give back the countries what was rightfully theirs and what was stolen from them.
yeah.
So. And then it makes perfectly good sense about everybody going gold back now. So where? Everybody all of a sudden got gold now? No, well, we haven't been told that, but now everybody's got gold now to do this with. There has to be that ultimate reason that it was returned back to them, so that they can use it to reevaluate their currencies. And the promise that BRICS gave them that we'll give you your gold back if you're willing to come do it this way for the
Yes.
people, for your people, and taking go for the governments and making sure you flip the script and get the white hats in there. And 159 has signed on a done deal to
Well,
join BRICS.
And
I think
that's
in go ahead, Echo.
no, what I was going to say, and that's a whole nother show, is
Hmm.
when you go down the rabbit hole of the capitulation tour and and getting these countries on board. And
Hmm.
right now, so many people look at it and like, oh, they're enemies, and they're enemies of America. And no, the Russians are not enemies of America.
That's right.
They were portrayed to be enemies of America,
Hmm.
but they're not. So,
Well, I'm really glad to see that these countries are working together, no matter what the narrative they're trying to feed us. Oh, that's the enemy. No, well, they're trying to put, well, how does the Bible put it? There'd be rumors of wars and all this kind of good stuff everywhere. They want to keep that fear factor in there.
mm-hmm,
But it's
100%.
also a movie, and if you keep with the fear, then unfortunately you're going to experience some of that. But stay positive and know that this is a movie, and you yourself, as a collective conscious as well, that we control this narrative, and we're going to make sure that it doesn't go that route. Okay. It's more positive than the negative. Okay. Now, it was like you were talking about the banks. You got to think about a dark force standing here, and then you got this little bit of light coming in, and it takes a long time to get to that point where it can overpower it.
But it'll eventually consume the darkness.
And it
Yeah.
consumes it. Yes, absolutely. I
Yeah.
thought that was very fascinating. I love the way God showed me that because I was not expecting it. I was expecting them suckers to go, no, there you go.
So what was it in the Revolutionary War? What was it? 3% of the population actually participated. The rest of them had no idea what was going on.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
And I kind of feel like that's where we're at now.
Yeah,
Like
one to three
most people
percent.
are just,
Well, I would say, overall, that we're close to like 70% overall. All nations are,
I
are, are
think so.
awakened, whether it be politically, they're tired of their government. We deserve our land, our rights, our food to be clean. People are making a reaction to all of these things. Now, not everybody is aware of the alien aspect or the UFO
Right.
aspect of it, but at least they're awake enough now that whenever we get things together, they're more susceptible to accept it because we're going to give them technologies that's going to put that, okay, this can be real. Instead of
Mhm.
telling them something negative, they're starting to see something positive. And a lot of people are scared about, supposedly the government's going to, do a alien invasion, you know, with the blue beam,
Oh yeah, Project
Yeah.
Bluebeam.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Blue
they've
Beam.
done
That's
some
all over the
practices.
news.
Hmm.
Yeah, they've done a little bit of some practices and stuff already in different parts of the world.
Hmm.
There's been videos from social media
Absolutely.
you
I
can
mean, they
see.
used it during 9/11, so
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
With the
Oh,
with the
100%.
planes. Yeah.
yeah.
We actually
100%.
we might have an episode coming up with somebody that was closely connected to that here in another month or so, right, Echo?
Yep.
We
Yeah,
might be
yeah.
doing it
I got so
live.
angry whenever God was showing me, what they were doing. And I don't know what it was, but I was in such a Tommy gun mob moment. I was lit. I just could not believe it, what was being shown to me. And I would really like to be able to hear what people, with their information and experiences that they went through and how they think this came about. I mean, because I was in construction and I did at least 5 years in demolition. As
Mm,
soon as I seen it, I knew that was a demolition job.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The way they
Mhm.
fell, yeah. And you could see the explosions if you were looking at the building and
Yeah, you can see the little pops. You can
yep.
see the pops of the detonators. Yeah,
Yep.
I noticed that too, and it was, I just, my God, I can't believe they did that to the people. But
Oh,
at least if I could see it, being a female, and because of my job is what helped me recognize that.
Yes.
But I mean, I'm sure the American people had to see that too, and then they're lying to our faces. Oh no, you didn't see that.
I'll
No,
be
you didn't see her talking about building nine going down while it was still standing behind her.
Oh, building seven. Yeah, building
Seven, that's right,
seven.
building seven, yeah.
Yeah.
Building seven. It's like, oh yeah, we're just that stupid.
Yeah, it just yeah. The ground
oh
just shook a little bit and it just took it down. Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
I
a
know.
couple of office fires.
Oh yeah.
No,
You
I'll
know.
I'll I'll be honest with you. I was working at a casino, and at that point in my life, I still believed the narrative, and I had a dealer, and he's like, building seven. I was like, what about building seven? What is that? And he said, go research building seven. I was like, okay. So I went and researched building seven, and I was like, okay, it didn't get hit by anything, and it just dropped like a Vegas casino.
Hmm.
And so when I say I woke up in 2017, literally when I woke up, it was probably about um 2008. That's about the time that someone mentioned building seven to me. And I was like, wow, okay, that's a problem. That building didn't get hit by anything, and it just dropped like a Vegas casino. So that's kind of, I guess that was my first awakening. But
Hmm.
2017 was when got hit by a lightning bolt.
Yeah, that's exactly how it feels, huh?
Hmm.
Is
Uh,
exactly how it feels. But
Took
it
a
is a
little
rude
while.
awakening, yeah. But we're adults and smart people, and we're figuring all this stuff out. And it's going to take a collective to help figure it out because no one person can figure it all out by themselves. And that's what makes us so valuable and so precious that we have great minds of many kinds on one team. It doesn't matter where you come from and what color you are family. We are family and we're supposed to look out and help take care of family. Yeah.
100% true story.
Mhm.
Let me ask you this question. Have you ever heard of Daniel Brinkley?
Who?
Danyon?
Danyon?
Danyon Brinkley.
No, I can't say that I have. Share.
So he's another one that's out there kind of talking about what we're talking about.
Cool.
And so the easiest way that I can explain it quickly that you may be able to understand it is he he was struck by lightning
Wow.
and died. And he was dead for I think 20 minutes. And during those 20 minutes, he was shown what was going to happen over the next, and this was in the 1970s.
Oh, okay.
Um, he was shown what was going to happen over the next 30 years going into now.
Okay.
And the one thing that he said was that when he was brought before what he thought was God,
Mhm.
he felt all the pain that he caused everybody else in his life at one point, and at that same point, he understood the pain that they caused him. It's like you felt everything at once.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I heard you talk about this on another show, which is why I wanted to bring it up because it's so profound that he talked about it and then you talked about it, and it's like so at some point in your life when you pass to that other side, you're going to deal with this. You're going to be brought before some kind of an energy where you're going to feel all the pain that you caused somebody else, and then you're going to feel the pain that they caused you. Can you talk more about that?
Well, I want to say that those are the ones that can experience it in a jolt of the system. You know, he got like struck by lightning.
Yes.
So that was his perspective, his experience. Okay, but you can look at it as a type of karma. Everybody has something that they feel like they've done wrong. Well, whenever you can confront yourself and say, okay, I understand I made a mistake. I'm not going to hold it against myself. I'm going to forgive myself and forgive the things that I've done to those people. You can picture them in your mind, right? Those
Hmm.
people that you did things to. So you talk to that person, I'm asking you to please forgive me. I love you and I'm thank you and I'm grateful for that because that is a version of you. You don't have to go hunt them down and do all this here scavenger hunt shit, to go down and tell them that you're sorry. Because you are all the same thing. You can speak to that version and clear out your karma. I've had things that come back that, oh man, I mean, I thought it fell off the planet because I forgot about it. But then I had things that come back and then God, it was what God, I was like, how can I do that? I don't even know, if this person's alive or not. And then I found out that person was dead. I was like, well, I'm screwed. What do I do? And God says, no, you know what they look like. You can remember this. Talk to them and tell them that you are sorry. You realize what you've done, you know, and to forgive you and tell them thank you and that you love them for that, and that you're appreciative, because they do listen. Even our loved ones that has passed on, they are right there. They can hear us. We can't hear them back, but we can let all those know, how we truly felt. But it only difference that it makes is because you're being watched. Don't just say it, show it.
Right.
Mhm.
And therefore, all of that goes away. Okay, because you're being true to yourself. I've done some pretty things in my life. What was I thinking? But I did. And I don't want to have any regrets for it anymore because I carried that around for a long time. So now I've gotten to the point where I realize, okay, that was a mistake that I made. What was its purpose? I learned one hell of a lesson that I will never do it again. So it served its purpose. So I'm grateful that I went through that because it took that for me to learn it. I wish it would have been easier, but no, some of us have to learn the hard way. But that's what I get out of it now is a valuable lesson that I learned, and I can't change it and I won't change it because it helped make me who I am today. All my decisions helped me become who I am. And I'm not going to
Right.
let anybody else make me feel guilty or remorseful about these things anymore. I've already been down that road. I've forgiven myself. And now here I am, the conqueror who got through all of that and realized my mistakes and perfected my flaws.
Mm.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. So
That is
we
so
have probably
beautiful.
time for one more topic here. Is there anything you want to uh, talk about that we haven't hit yet? Maybe that you want to let the audience know, or
Yes,
okay,
because I didn't finish on the four brown dwarfs.
yes,
Um, in the cloud of one of these brown dwarfs is Earth and Mars. Okay. And that is Gaia and Mara. Okay. That's their names. Or at least that is on my timeline. That's what their names is. Okay. And Vena wasn't there at the moment. Venus, she wasn't there at that moment. Okay. She was I'll tell you. But whenever the soul sucks all of the atmosphere off of the star itself and is draining its energy, the females get exposed. Okay, so he automatically is bringing Earth and Venus to himself. Okay, he's a magnet, and so is she. And of course, he's an alpha, so she ain't gonna complain.
right,
Okay, And so, but in the process of Earth and Mars coming to him, like I said, it's a bowling alley out there. There's all kinds of crazy things going on, and they come too close to each other because of the chaos, and they arc off of each other, and that's where we get the Grand Canyon and the Mariana, the Venus, Mars Mariana Trench thing over there. It's because those are two giant arc marks off of these two females, and that's only because they got too close to each other. Not that they were being competitive, it's just they got too close to each other. And what does two negatives want to do? Get away from each other.
Yep. Dispel. Yep.
Okay. Okay. And so whenever that starts settling down, now you got to think about these stars. Now, Sol, he has millions of arms. He doesn't have just two. He has millions of arms. And he is grabbing those suckers, and he is literally top and bottom. You can see it's like sucking it right off of him. You got a positive. He's got a positive charge on it and a positive connection down here, and he's just draining these suckers. Okay, and because they're being hyper agitated, they're going to spin very, 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 very fast. Okay. And now I want you to think about a diamond. You can look into a diamond and you can see even in that diamond, it has little tiny coal pieces.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Women prefer them without any. Okay. But even a star has those little coal pieces in it. Okay. Not all of them do, but some of them do. Okay. And now Earth and Venus and Mars belong to Saturn. Okay, that is the original parent star. That was her lover she was born with. Okay, all these ladies were born with, not Venus yet, but Earth and Mars was born or created at the same time that Saturn was, and they were the couple. You know, he had two wives, so to speak. Okay, and but whenever Saturn was being so agitated, now whenever I told you that first cue ball got hit, look at that as Uranus. It got hit so hard it flipped it. Okay. And it stayed that way. It was shocked, electroshock therapy. But all of the stars, those brown dwarfs, is getting electroshock therapy on a massive scale. Okay. And whenever Saturn was spinning so fast, it almost gave it like a compression on it because it was spinning so fast. But what did it do? All those little black pieces of coal all get pushed out, right? Because they're being slung out because of the spinning force, right? So anyway, here pops out Venus. She has done popped right out of it because he's in that middle stage between the light and the dark. And because it wanted to take any kind of a negativity out of it because the forces wants that whatever it perceives could be a feminine energy or negative energy. Okay, but because of the force, it gets popped out, and therefore Venus is born out of electroshock therapy. And not just born, she gets shot across the solar system in the opposite direction. Okay, so now she's fighting the well instead of going with the well. Okay,
Mhm.
and over time, that force starts slowing her down, giving her drag. Okay, and she looks like a comet the whole time. Okay, but it starts slowing her down with this drag, and eventually it stops her, and then she starts going with the other planets. Okay, but she spins backwards. She will always spin backwards because it's kind of like when Saturn flipped, it caused her to flip, and she would have the opposite spin as she's going.
Mm.
Okay. So, but yeah, it's actually, and she still to this day has slightly, well, not now in the photon belt, she don't have a tail, but she did have a tail for a while, and they considered that to be like long blonde hair coming off of her. But she was birthed out of that chaotic situation. And Venus is not a dry, hot planet like they're claiming. Okay, that's a lie. It is a beautiful world, and they do actually have Venusians on there. And a lot of the beings that I have seen come off of there, the first ones that I've seen that were from Venus, I actually seen in Tartaria, and they're green and they're beautiful. And they got jet black hair and they have green skin. And the ladies that I was looking at, one had green eyes and the other lady had blue eyes. So they do have a diversity in eye color, is what I'm saying. But they were green and they were absolutely beautiful. They actually have life. They have all kinds of that. It's just different than what we have. That's all. But they don't want us to see that. So what do? We're going to paint it like this. We don't want you to see this. And Mars has a lot more life than what they're showing us. It's going to shock people. Well, right now it's in the photon belt. So any star that gets super charged, so will the planets, and it'll show their true beauty. So Mars and everybody is showing their absolutely true beauty, water and all, plants, animals, all. Okay.
Nice.
But before we got in there, they didn't want us to see that that was a living planet. They wanted us to perceive it as a planet that was destroyed in a nuclear war. Yes, they did have wars on that planet, okay, but it wasn't enough to take out the whole planet.
So
Right.
let me jump in here real quick because we just jumped into what I was talking about earlier, which was Val Thor. And so supposedly
Yeah.
Val Thor is from Venus,
Uh-huh.
and he was what they call him, stranger at the Pentagon. And
Okay.
he was down here, and
Talking to the
I
president,
I
advising.
questioned yeah, I questioned it for a long time. I'm like, okay, how could that planet being that close to the sun have life? But we've been lied to about so much that who knows? So maybe
And
Val
can I
Thor.
have another surprise for you?
I knew you would. I knew you would. I've researched this so much that I'm like, I knew you'd have some other surprise.
Well,
So
the stars are not hot. They are cold fusion. Okay.
Mm.
wow, wow,
So, and
okay,
that's how these planets can be so close to their partner, their star. Okay, and they don't want us to see that. If we get when we get to see the Saul, we will see that he's almost, I want to say almost 3 times the size in the sky. Okay, we are close to our star. Okay, remember he is a protector, a guard. He wants his shit close to him.
Hmm.
Okay. He wants his family right there. And yes, there is others that they're further away, but yeah, it's all cold fusion, and they want us to think that everything is thermal heat. Okay, now these kind of things do happen, but not in the way that they're saying. Okay, this is cold fusion. This is forces come together, and it doesn't take heat to create it. Okay, it's putting things together, and whenever you rip things apart, you get a reaction, correct?
Right.
Okay, well, that is the chaos. You're still going to have that, but it's not going to be on the way that they're describing it to us. It's not going to be molten lava and fire, all this kind of good stuff. There
Right.
will be a negative charge reaction from that, but it'll be a balance to the positive charge of that. But it is all cold fusion. And that makes it, because you think the space is cold, they have portrayed it in the movies, it's a vacuum. You're an ice cube. So where is all that coming from? And it's because everything is cold. It's absolute below zero. You can't even get no colder than this. And how do you get something out of that if you don't use that cold factor to it? And you hit it with electricity, now you got cold fusion. You still have power. You can still heat things. You can still change the temperature of a star. Okay, but it is cold fusion. And all stars are also portals. It's kind of like they each have their own IP address. If you know that IP address, you can go to it. And that's how they travel distances.
I will tell you this. I've always felt much closer to Mars than Venus.
Well, there you go.
I don't know why.
Because men are from
I
Mars and women are from Venus.
Venus, there
yeah, there
you
you go.
go. Nathan knew that answer.
Nathan just answered it.
There you
I've
go,
been
Well, you
trying to
bro.
figure
could
it out for
come
years.
from the beings that were on that planet. Okay, the Marians is what they are called because she is Mara, meaning the Mars. But th this is where you get that terminology of the mariner, the guy out in the water. Okay, it's because they are called Marians.
Mhm.
Okay. And you could have been part of that, born there, reincarnated there, or came back here, or you must have some tie to it if you feel that pull to it. So that's a
Yeah,
guarantee. You just don't remember what it is as of yet.
I'm
No.
trying. I'm trying to remember it.
So did you see that movie on? Oh my goodness, I just lost his name.
Was it the one from the 90s?
No, John. He's on Mars.
Wick?
Huh?
John
No,
Wick? No.
John Wick
no,
wasn't on Mars.
no.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Maybe he was. We
He
don't.
might,
Maybe he was.
right? You never know.
No. Oh my gosh, this dude is he gets taken he goes through a portal here on Earth and ends up on Mars. Okay? And they show a lot of the scenes of Mars and the beings that are there. And I thought that was a very fascinating movie because
Like The
it shows
Martian or something.
The Martian
no, it was
Chronicles.
no, it
The
was,
Martian Chronicles was from the 70s or early 80s.
I had it too. I can't
There
believe
was
that
one just recently that had, and I can't remember the actor. He's it's
John
a
Carter.
Sean Carter.
Oh
John
yes, I
Carter.
did see that.
Yeah.
It was more of a Disney flick, so nobody really took it too
Right.
serious. But
Right.
that's before you knew you should really take those things serious.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So they do show that there is life there, and quite a few of those characters, I can definitely say that they exist, and so that shows the diversity. And people aren't ready for that kind of shock yet, but there is definitely some different beings. So,
Oh my God, I'm ready for it. I've been waiting for it my entire life.
well, all of them are positive now. And another thing that people don't realize is that because I have said that once you hit the photon belt, everything goes positive. It's just the way it is, right? So if you know that your star is going to hit the photon belt, don't you think you want to get your shit together?
Oh, I would.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this here is where the Anunnaki come in. Okay, because their star Nibiru, I mean Nemesis is the twin star to Sol. Okay, and this is the perfect example to show you right here. Okay, this would be Sol. Put that up there next to you. And this would be Nemesis. Okay, they're different sizes,
Okay.
Mm.
but they're just as powerful. It's like this is the midget brother.
Gotcha.
He's just as powerful as this one, but he's a brown dwarf. Okay. This already existed before the gas giants came into play. They were partners in this here. It's like big brother, little brother. Okay. And most stars do come in companions, some kind. Okay. And
He's got that small man energy.
he's got that small man energy, but he's just as powerful.
Fast.
That's the reason why they don't cancel each other out. It's because their composition is different, but their electromagnetism and energy is the same.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, and now Nemesis has 5 planets. Okay. And one of those is Nibiru, where the Anunnaki are from. Okay. They
Hmm.
have 2 rocky type planets. One is not really habitable, but the one that they live on. And then they have gas giants as well. Okay. And well, let's just say small gas giants. But anyway, they go on a 3,600 year orbit. Okay. Now check this out. This is actually kind of cool because you got to look at it from their perspective. Saul is hauling ass and know he's going to collide with these 4 brown dwarfs, right? Well, this is happening while a Nemesis is way out on its orbit. Okay. So by the time Nemesis comes back around with Nibiru, holy crap, where these planets come from? So, and that's whenever they decided they discovered Earth and discovered Mars. And that's whenever they started saying, okay, we're going to benefit from this here chaos. You
Mm.
know, we're not, and therefore, whenever they came and they seen that there was still life on Venus and Mars, I'm sorry, on Earth and Mars, they also wanted to take advantage of that. At first, it was a greedy, hey, we can give you benefits, you give us benefits, stuff like this here, and it was okay. But then, whenever they wanted to dominate it, the whole thing, then everything went array, and then they wanted to conquer and control. Now, the people that were already on Earth are called Terrians. Okay, and we know them now as Tartarians. Okay, and that's the original race that came with Gaia. Okay, her original children. Okay, and then you got the Anunnaki, but then the Anunnaki split. So now you got the Anunnaki and the Wanunnaki. Okay, two
The
different
one,
factions of the same group. Okay,
the wannabe Nagis.
yeah, and a lot of the Indians and more towards the California way speak of the Wabanakis, and they'll speak of it in South America too. You'll hear them because they were trying to help them whenever they knew that Enlil was going to open the floodgates. Okay, so these are like the good guys. They decided to try to help. But now I lost track. I apologize, Jimmy.
No, no, it's
Oh,
fine.
yes, but these here too. This is whenever they conquered each other, and the Anunnaki came in and conquered Mars, so to speak, and then they wanted to go for Earth. Okay, so and that's how it all came about. Is in a trade route, as in material, because they needed gold to put in their atmosphere to help reflect things, because their world is by they're outside their brown dwarf's cloud. They're not inside of it. They're outside of it. So they need extra help with light and stuff like that to come in. So that's the reason why they wanted the gold. And if they needed, that's all they needed, then they wouldn't need to be here no more. And if they've been digging gold for, 450,000 years, then this planet would be bald. So That's not the true outcome of that. It might have been a start of it, but that's not what it is now. Now we've become a commodity that's more important than gold.
Mm. Nice.
So,
Well, what do you think, Echo? We've been on here for almost 3 hours, I believe, or a little bit over.
oh,
It's been a very awesome episode, very informative, a lot of information, a lot of questions we asked you. Thank you for hanging in there, Lisa, and answering all of our questions and kind of giving us some insight from your experiences. And it was a lot of fun, and I'm sure we could go on for another 3 hours if.
I'm sure we could. Yeah. But I
But
do thank you, gentlemen, for being patient with me and allowing me the opportunity to explain what I've learned to be able to share to my brothers and sisters. And like I said, hopefully with a simple explanation that all can relate to and understand and, absorb it instead of me going out in left field with all kinds of scientific crap.
yeah,
So, or big words that,
No, I actually think that this is like a prequel to what we've learned previously, because we haven't even gotten to the point where you got to the backyard. And
oh, yeah, that's right. I apologize.
so we need to do another segment here real soon,
Absolutely.
that takes
Absolutely.
us to the backyard and up.
Yeah, we can talk about the backyard, and then I would be absolutely pleased to be able to describe and tell you, gentlemen, about the 4D wars that led us to this point. Because that in itself, that's Lord of the Rings, baby.
wow. Yeah. All right. Well, we look forward to that. If you're watching this episode and you wanna see that episode, let us know so we can get that scheduled, and we'll get her back on here to watch. So you can watch us dive into that and what happened to her in the backyard and what where she
Backyard
went.
story.
Yeah, right. The backyard. So, thanks again. And Echo, do you have anything you want to say on the way out here?
No, just thank you, Alisa, for taking your time to do this with us. And we can't wait to spend some more time with you. This was awesome.
I have enjoyed it, gentlemen, and I'm going to tell you and everybody out there that my brothers and sisters, remember, you are everything that you see, no exception. So be kind to us.
That's right. And God bless. And for everybody in my audience, this has been another episode of All Aware, and you are all aware.
Peace.
Good night.